Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. National Anime Inheritance. I choose Six Paths Obito. Chapter 21. Let's talk about something else. Here, Mr. Wu, I'll give you something. Lin Long handed over a sandalwood box. Mr. Wu took it, opened the box, and a fresh fragrance came to his nose. This, blood Bodhi. Qin Shi on the side was also shocked. As a two-dimensional enthusiast who read a lot of books in his previous life, Qin Shi naturally knew about the blood Bodhi in the Fengyan world. Blood Bodhi, according to legend, is a rare fruit born on the ground where the fire unicorn dripped blood. It has the effect of curing serious injuries and increasing strength without injuries. It is already a legendary medicine. This is too precious. Mr. Wu was about to refuse. It's not that he didn't want the blood Bodhi. The root cause of the disease caused by fighting against the monster made his strength decline greatly. He had to retreat to the second line and do easy work like hosting the awakening ceremony. And as long as you take a certain amount of blood Bodhi, not only can the hidden disease be completely removed, but it can also greatly improve his strength. How can he not be tempted? But Mr. Wu knows himself. The academy has clear rewards and punishments, and his existing merits are not worthy of this kind of strange fruit. Don't say no, it's so troublesome to push it back and forth. Lin Long yawned and said, "Besides, this fruit is not given to you by me, but by the stubborn principal. If you want to return it, give it to him yourself. Besides, I'm not letting you take it for free. I have a mission for you." Lin Long sat up straight and scratched the table with his fingertips wet. Although Linhai City is a third-tier city, it is located in the center of the three nearby cities. Now that the Su family father and daughter have been captured, these three cities still need resident demon hunters. The tragedy of 9 years ago must never happen again. Wu Mengda, that is, Mr. Wu, are you willing to be the resident demon hunter of these three cities? Wu's eyes were moist, and his tiger body suddenly shook. 2-star demon hunter Wu Mengda will definitely live up to his mission. That's good, I've finally finished my job. Lin Long waved her hand. Uncle La, bring me 3 pots of liquor. As she spoke, she glanced at Qin Shi with a somewhat arrogant look. Can you drink? If not, go to the baby's table. Originally, Qin Shi wanted to refuse. Hearing the woman's tone, good fellow, you look down on me. Qin Shi raised a finger. Sister Lin, do you know what my nickname is in Linhai City? 1 glass. Lin Long smiled. No. Qin Shi raised the liquor and filled a whole glass. I keep drinking. I was a northeasterner before I crossed over. Can I be a coward when drinking? That's great. Lin Long smiled, and her face started to flush before she even drank the wine. Sure enough, this is the good thing about business trips. The principal of the college doesn't allow me to drink. I'm greedy. The three raised their glasses. Let's go. When Qin Shi opened his eyes again, he found himself lying on a bed in the orphanage. Dizzy, he sat up with his head covered. Are you awake? Hong Fugi brought a bowl of chicken soup and sat next to Qin Shi. It was the beautiful girl who carried you back before. By the way, she left a message for you before she left. After hesitating for a while, Hong Fugi said hesitantly. She said that there are many men who are not good enough, but she has never seen such a bad man like you. Xiao, tell Grandpa the truth. What progress have you two made? How did you get to the point where you can't make it? Looking at his grandfather's anxious eyes, Qin Shi was so ashamed that he wanted to get into the quilt. He tried his best to recall his actions in the noodle shop. I only remember that I drank the first glass. And then, there was nothing else. Grandpa, I've embarrassed our orphanage. Qin Shi silently took the chicken soup. It's okay, there are thousands of wild flowers in the world, if it doesn't work, we can change. Hong Fugi quickly patted his child's shoulder. Grandpa went on blind dates 99 times, it doesn't matter if you fail once. Although your situation is not optimistic. Quote. Qin Shi buried his head. I'd better drink the soup and say nothing. Yuan won't come back. 3 days later, Qin Shi stood at the port of Linhai City, looking at the ship in front of him. This is the ship they are going to see to their respective advanced training colleges. The lion-headed bow, the huge sail with a skull, and the deck covered with grass. My goodness, isn't this the Straw Hat Pirates ship, the 1,000 Miles Sunny? Just as he was sighing, a petite girl on his right took over, said. In the world of One Piece, there is a navigation technology that far exceeds that of other planes, and can adapt to extremely complex water conditions. It is said that this type of sea ship was designed by a teacher of the Frankie inheritance at Tiangong College. The girl who spoke had two ponytails shaking back and forth, and she was less than 1.5 meters tall. It was Chen Fu, one of Qin Shi's good friends. Speaking of which, Zhang Hao, your inheritance Tony Chopper, and that professor's Frankie inheritance are shipmates. Chen Fu said to a fat man on Qin Shi's left hand. Zhang Hao put a piece of potato chips in his mouth. It seems so. The inheritance book says that Chopper is the ship doctor and that Frankie is the shipbuilder. The inheritance of thousands of different worlds converges on the same blue planet. Even people who don't know each other may have a certain fate. But he is a successful professor. I am just a poor guy who can't bear to drink Coke when buying a bag of potato chips. Zhang Hao looked at the empty bag of potato chips and sighed. Qin Shi and Chen Fu both laughed. The three of them boarded the ship together. Walking on the board, Qin Shi asked curiously. By the way, Xiao Fu, how did you recover so quickly? I thought you would have to lie down for at least 1 or 2 months. Although Zhang Hao is a Chopper's descendant, his self-healing ability should be higher. But Chen Fu is a Jinx's descendant, how could she heal so quickly? This doubt came to him when Lin Long mysteriously told him that 2 friends would take the ship with him. We were lying in the hospital, and then a beautiful sister with curled hair came to the hospital to see us. Chen Fu recalled. She placed a scabbard beside us, and the scabbard emitted light to wrap me in ahau. Ah, it's so warm, just like soaking in a hot spring. We fell asleep in a daze, and when we woke up, we were completely healed, as if we had never been injured. After listening to Chen Fu's words, Qin Shi said, oh, and the corners of his mouth rose. It turned out to be the treasure of King Daimao, utopia far away from the world. This legendary treasure has the ability to heal and stop aging. It is indeed easy to treat 2 low-level inheritors. It is obvious that only a few healing drugs can heal the injuries of the 2. But in order to prevent the 2 from delaying their studies due to injuries, the treasure was specially used. That kind of legendary treasure, even as strong as her, must pay some price. However, this also shows that the woman is indeed a gentle person. Qin Shi looked up at the sky was very blue. He was in a particularly happy mood. The sea breeze was blowing. Qin Shi leaned against the deck and basked in the sun. In his left hand was a small bottle of soda, and in his right hand was a red ticket. On the back of the ticket was a map of the entire route, and its price was also marked. 1 ticket costs 50,000 Jojo coins. Why doesn't he just go and rob it? Zhang Hao, who was eating free egg tarts crazily on the side, wiped his mouth. Looking at the string of zeros on the ticket, he took a breath of cold air. Fortunately, the college doesn't charge round-trip fare and tuition, otherwise I can't afford to go to school even if I die. But Lao Chin, are the colleges of the 3 of us next to each other? Hua Tuo Hospital, Tiangong College, and Monster Hunting College. After the graduation ceremony, the 3 of them got their respective admission notices as they wished. Well, they are all at the last stop of this route, Chang'an City in the wasteland. Qin Shi replied. Wasteland, the westernmost end of Jojo, is known as the end of the world, with countless mountains and rivers. Jojo, as the name implies, consists of 9 territories. Guangzhou was originally the region with the richest resources and the largest population in Jojo, and it was also the region where Chang'an, the capital of Jojo, was located. But 300 years ago, monsters attacked the human race. Guangzhou became a frontline battlefield, and many people were forced to move to the interior for refuge. Guangzhou was already declining, but Jojo moved the 3 major colleges there, distributed in a triangle in 7 cities in Guangzhou. Surrounding the capital Chang'an, they had the toughest confrontation with monsters. They stabilized the people's hearts in Guangzhou in one fell swoop. In the decades since then, Guangzhou has not only not been depressed, but has become more prosperous. You let me go. A woman's shout came. Qin Shi and the other 2 turned their heads to look. A young man with a non-mainstream hairstyle and luxurious clothes was holding a girl's hand. The girl had dark eyebrows and 2 dimples at the corners of her mouth, like the girl next door in the short video. Let go. I, Yuan Baiwen, have never failed to get the woman I like. The man in fancy clothes showed a fierce look, with his mouth raised, revealing a lewd smile. It turned out to be the Yuan family. The tourists around who were going to fight for justice immediately retreated. He is the dandy son of the largest wealthy family in Liangzhou. Don't mess with him. I heard that he is lustful and only targets girls from poor families. He was bailed out by his family several times in prison. Even the security guards on the cruise ship hesitated at this moment and did not dare to come up. Look at your tattered clothes. You must be a child from a poor family. As long as you serve me well, you will have a good life in the future. I don't want it. The girl looked angry and struggled to break free from the man's dirty hands, but she couldn't. Ahem. Next to the daughter, a frail middle-aged man with a hunched back begged. Mr. Fu, please let my sister go. I'm kneeling down for you. As he said that, he pulled Yuan Baiwen's pants and was about to kneel down. Yuan Baiwen looked disgusted and kicked the middle-aged man down. Brother, the girl screamed. She raised her hand to hit the man. But a young man in a straw raincoat standing behind the man grabbed her wrist. Young master, why don't you take him to the room? There are too many people watching here. I'm worried that young master will be in danger. Until the old man took action, everyone realized that there was someone else standing behind Yuan Baiwen. What's wrong with this old man? I didn't even notice him at all. He just appeared suddenly. Is he invisible? Look at that man's face, it looks like a lizard's face. The tourists who were watching were frightened by the old man's appearance and stepped back unconsciously. I say, Lao Mei, didn't I tell you not to show up when I'm picking up girls? It'll scare the girls. Yuan Baiwen looked at the girl with a lewd smile. The girl's face was ashen, and her eyes were fixed on the old man in the straw raincoat. Green skin, lizard face, and most importantly, a curled tail. Strange, monster. The girl covered her mouth with her left hand, and her legs began to tremble. Yeah, he's not a monster. He used to be a demon hunter, and now he's my bodyguard. If you want to live, follow me to the cabin, little beauty, you don't want your brother to be bullied, do you? Yuan Baiwen smiled lewdly and was about to pull the woman away. With the demon hunter as a bodyguard, the crowd around him retreated even more, not wanting to offend such a nobleman. The woman looked desperate. Stop! A shout came from the crowd. Hearing the shout, Yuan Baiwen's face turned cold and he looked at. Who is so blind that dares to ruin my grandfather's business? The crowd around him moved aside. Qin Shi came from behind the crowd. I said, stop it. As soon as he finished speaking, he came to the man, grabbed the man's wrist with one hand and exerted a little force. The man felt pain and couldn't help but let go. Qin Shi pulled the girl over. Chen Fu and Zhang Hao came over and took the girl. The man twisted his wrist with a fierce look on his face. Boy, do you know who I am? I am from Liangzhou. Are you the son of the Yuan family in Liangzhou? I know. Qin Shi reached into the ninja backpack. The Yuan family, 200 years ago, gave birth to a family head with a super S-level inheritance, Senju Hashirama, which turned from a small clan into a big family in Liangzhou. But now, Qin Shi smiled. Your current patriarch Yuan Sanqin is the A-level inheritor of the Naruto clan Yamato. The Yuan family is no longer the strongest wood family in the past, why are you still so arrogant? Qin Shi has been subscribing to the Yoshu Suit magazine since elementary school. It once selected the top 10 declining families. The first one is the Liangzhou Yuan family. And the magazine also attached the information of each member of the Yuan family. Yuan Baiwen is the 9th son of the patriarch of the Yuan family and the weakest child. And you, with a poor inheritance and weak strength, don't want to share the worries of your family, and dare to ruin your family's reputation here. Your Yuan family hates weak people the most. Tell me, if I teach you a lesson here, will your Yuan family help you? Qin Shi looked at Yuan Baiwen, and the black jade in his eyes turned. After all, it was the first time to go out far away, and it would be best if there was no fighting. What, you want to ask why there was no fighting? Do you think the Sharingan illusion is just a decoration? And as for you, Qin Shi suddenly pulled out a kunai and stabbed it into the void. Dang, the sound of iron colliding rang out. At one end of the kunai, a short knife gradually emerged. It turned out to be a lizard man, holding a short knife and trying to sneak attack Qin Shi's back. Qin Shi turned around and looked at him with a smile. I remember correctly, your name is Meiwen. You are the inheritor of the B-level Marion in the Hunter Plane, and you have the invisible ability called God's Alibi. 5 years ago, there was a person in Qingshan City, Liangzhou, who passed the graduation ceremony and was almost admitted to the Demon Hunter Academy. But in the end, he was disqualified for admission because of misconduct. It was you. The Demon Hunter Suit magazine has a column called Strange Talk, which records various strange events of demon hunters. Among them was a student who was disqualified from entering the academy because of soliciting prostitution. Qin Shi took out the admission letter of the Monster Hunting Academy with his left hand, his eyes sharp. Look, I am a genuine student of the Monster Hunting Academy. You are cheating by using the name of our academy, you are probably looking for death. That kind of academy that doesn't recognize talent is nothing great. Mevin had a cold face. And look at the tickets in your hands, they are ordinary tickets, you can't even afford a first-class cabin. A few poor students, with no money and no background, dare to stand up in front of me. You are looking for death, he said, but he was a little panicked in his heart. The young man who stood up in front of him was a genuine student of the Monster Hunting Academy. Monster Hunting Academy, the first academy in Kyushu. It has trained countless strong men with outstanding military exploits. More importantly, this academy is particularly protective of its students. If a student of their own academy, even if he is just a freshman, is bullied outside, there will be a teacher from the academy to let you know. What is the iron fist of the strongest academy? The lizard man Mevin rolled his eyes, hesitating whether to take action. He was still thinking, but his boss couldn't wait. Yuan Baiwen frowned, staring straight at Qin Shi. If you don't do it, you will roll me immediately. I don't want to get a penny from my Yuan family. Go on, give me. Hang him up. Mei Wen sighed as a look at Yuan Million. As stupid as a pig. This Yuan Datu, I will be killed by him sooner or later. Forget it, teach the kid in front of me a lesson, and then put all the blame on the Yuan family. After this bodyguard trip, I will leave this Yuan Datu after I get the money. He thought so in his heart, but said it. Boss Yuan, don't worry, I will let this young boy suffer now. After saying that, he did not rush to make a move, but took out an item from his pocket. This is a pair of glasses with only one lens. The appearance is the same as the combat power display glasses in the Dragon Ball world. Meiwen put on the glasses and turned them on. A letter kept changing. The glasses did not display combat power, but the inheritance level. This is a inheritance glasses, modified by a professor at Tiangong College based on the combat glasses in the Dragon Ball world. You can check the enemy's inheritance or the level of the monster. Humph, I thought this kid dared to come forward, it would be some extraordinary inheritance. It turns out it's just a B-level inheritance. Mevin's mouth corners rose, and he breathed a sigh of relief. He is a professional bodyguard, and he has always been thorough in doing things. The students of the Demon Hunting Academy are all top graduates in their respective cities. Although the inheritance has just awakened, what if it happens to be an S-level inheritance, or the kind of inheritance that is relatively early? Then I am not 100% sure. If it's just a B-level inheritance, the reaction of the Demon Hunting Academy should not be so big. He looked at Qin Shi, his face became more and more sinister. Young man, you have just entered society, I will teach you a rule today. Don't offend people you can't afford to offend, otherwise, you can't afford the price. While speaking, Meiwen's figure disappeared again. His inheritance is Merlion in the hunter world. Merlion, the division leader of the Chimera Ant, has average physical skills and spiritual strength. But the reason why he was rated as a B-level inheritance is because his ability is extremely special. Unique invisibility ability. In the hunter world, Marawan has two invisibility abilities. One is similar to the ability of a chameleon, which changes its color to the same as the surrounding environment. This invisibility cannot hide the flow of spiritual power, but simply blends the body into the environment. The other invisibility is his mind ability, God's Alibi. God's Alibi can be activated on the premise of holding a breath, so that the opponent can't feel him at all. Whether it is breath, infrared, or spiritual power, it can be completely hidden. Even if he stands in front of you and his limbs touch you, you can't detect his existence. Absolute concealment technique. Of course, the disadvantage is also obvious, that is, there is only one breath-holding time. When breathing, the ability will be invalid. Qin-shi used the Sharingan to look around, but still didn't see Maven's figure. If it is chameleon, invisibility, the flow of spiritual power cannot be hidden. Qin-shi's Sharingan could clearly see it. But now, he couldn't find Maven's whereabouts at all. Directly used the second ability, God's Alibi. You are really a safe enemy. He smiled slightly. You are not the only one who can turn invisible. He did not act rashly, but had already considered how to crack the opponent's moves. The 26th way of binding, Ku Guang. Qin-shi chanted the spell. His figure disappeared little by little. Ku Guang's invisibility is only the lowest level of invisibility, which only changes the refractive index of light. But because of this, it consumes very little spiritual power and can last for a long time. You don't have eyes like mine, what can you use to fight me? Qin-shi compared his endurance with Meiwen. He already had 3 kunai in his hand. The end of the kunai was connected to a thin elastic thread. After a minute, heavy panting sounded. Meiwen finally couldn't help at first, and his figure was faintly revealed. Qin-shi was not polite either, and directly greeted 3 kunai. Hoo-hoo. Quote. Mevin dodged quickly, although his inheritance is not known for physical skills. But after awakening the inheritance for so many years, and working as a bodyguard, his physical skills have also been developed to a certain extent. It has reached the level of LV2. It is no problem to dodge a few kunai. HMPH, you are still a little naive if you want to compete with me in endurance. The lizard man Meiwen snorted coldly, and then took a deep breath. His ability, God's Alibi, can almost be called a divine skill. The degree of concealment is high, and the spiritual power consumption is also extremely low. The only obvious weakness is that he needs to breathe. Although facing a master, one breath of exposure is enough to kill him countless times. But facing an opponent who does not have the ability to kill instantly, he is more than enough to sneak attack or escape. As a newcomer who just graduated from school, how much spiritual power do you have to maintain your invisibility? Quote. Who gave you the courage to compete with a long-established bodyguard like me in endurance? Quote. Mevin sneered. He took a few deep breaths and tried to activate his ability again. But there was a faint touch at his ankle. This, a thread? Just as he was surprised, the thread at his ankle suddenly tightened. Not only his ankle, but also his waist was wrapped with silk threads. The silk threads tightened, tightly binding his whole body. Not good, he exclaimed. The breath held in his mouth also completely dissipated. The vaguely invisible figure was exposed again. Qin-shi waved his hands quickly, and the silk threads in his hands seemed to be dancing. Sharingan windmill, 3 big swords. Aren't you going to hang me up and beat me? Quote. Qin-shi laughed coldly, exerted force with his feet, and jumped onto the mast of the 1,000 miles sunshine. He jumped down again. The silk thread wrapped around the lizard man's feet and hung him up high. God's Alibi is really powerful. Qin-shi clapped his hands. But you are hanging in the air, so what if you can be invisible? In the air, Mei Wen's figure swayed back and forth, howling unwillingly. Pick up the inheritance glasses dropped by the other party. Qin-shi blew on them and put them on his eyes. Stinky boy, do you know who I am? I am the young master of the Yuan family. Yuan Baiwen, who was standing aside, blushed and shouted at Qin-shi. Put Mei Wen down quickly, otherwise, my Yuan family will hunt you down to the ends of the earth. Qin-shi scratched his ears and looked at Yuan Baiwen's impotent rage. Click the switch on the glasses and turn them on. Oh, it's still an F-level inheritance. Quote. The inheritance level of Yuan Baiwen is displayed on the glasses. Qin-shi smiled and slowly walked towards Yuan Baiwen. The kunai was spinning on his fingertips, just like spinning a pen. You, don't come over here. Yuan Baiwen was terrified and kept backing away. His bodyguards were no match for him. How could he, a dandy boy, beat the enemy in front of him? You can scream, no one will come to save you even if you scream your throat out. Amid Yuan Baiwen's terrified screams, Qin-shi walked over with a sinister smile on his face. 3 minutes later, another figure appeared on the mast of the 1,000 miles sunshine. Done. After tying the thin thread, Chin-shi clapped his hands. Thank you. The teased girl burst into tears. If it weren't for you, my little sister would, today. The hunched middle-aged man held Chin-shi's hand tightly. Uncle, it's okay, I should do it. I don't know why. Chin-shi felt that the hand of the girl's brother in front of him was slippery, like a loach. And the look in his eyes made him uncomfortable. Before he could further observe the middle-aged man in front of him. The captain is here. I don't know who shouted. A passage suddenly opened up in the crowd of onlookers. Surrounded by 7 or 8 cruise ship sailors, a short and sturdy man came over. The man wore a white peaked cap and held a pipe in his mouth. He looked just over 30 years old, and his figure was like a bodybuilder. His biceps bulged, showing his strong arm strength. Yuan Baiwen, who was hanging on the mast, suddenly shouted loudly. His eyes were shining, as if he had seen a savior. You are the captain. I was bullied on your ship and was hung here. I tell you, this matter is not over. Put me down quickly, and throw those who insulted me into the sea. Otherwise, my Yuan family will make you look bad. Hearing Yuan Baiwen's threat, the captain raised his eyebrows. He slowly walked to the mast. He picked up a thick hemp rope on the deck with one hand, and then swung it in the air. Snap! In the sky, a red mark immediately appeared on the body of Yuan Baiwen, who was hanging. Ah! Yuan Baiwen howled in pain, and his whole body kept twisting. He was tied up by thin silk again, swinging in the sky. But the captain did not stop. Instead, he whipped Yuan Baiwen one after another. He whipped Yuan Baiwen, who was hanging and begging for mercy. You dared to make trouble on my ship, and you don't even ask for help. Who do I, Lei Bo, fear? Who do we, the Lei family, fear? Who gave you the courage to dare to touch the earth on the head of Tai Sui? As he said, he whipped Yuan Baiwen twice, and blood marks appeared on his face. Today I will spare your life, and I will drive you to the door of your Yuan family. If your Yuan family does not compensate my Lei family 100 million, I will throw you into the sea to feed the fish. And more. Captain Lei Bo paused and pointed at Chin-shi and others. I like these people very much. They dare to stand out, unlike other cowards who only dare to watch the show. If you, the Yuan family, dare to cause trouble to them, humph. Don't blame my Lei family ship for fighting with your Yuan family. A family that has passed its prime, keep a low profile. If you continue to be so arrogant, you will die without knowing how. Throwing away the bloody hemp rope in his hand, Captain Lei Bo wiped his hands. Then he came to Chin-shi. Hello, young man, I am the captain of this cruise ship, my name is Lei Bo. You can call me Brother Bo. Originally, I heard my subordinates report that someone was molesting women on my ship, and I was planning to come over to teach that person a lesson. But I found that the troublemaker has been dealt with by you. He looked at Chin-shi with approval. You are full of vigor and strength. You are a real hero. I am willing to upgrade all of you to the first-class cabin to express my gratitude. Especially you, the young man. He took out a black card from his pocket. This is our limited edition VIP card of the Lei family. It is only given to true friends of our Lei family. Take this card and you will get free rides on our Lei family's ships, trains, and planes in the future. After saying that, he stuffed the black card into Chin-shi's hand. A black card made the tourists around talk about it. Hiss. It's the Lei family's black card. The Lei family is the newly rising family in the past 30 years, one of the 9 great families. Do you know who the head of the Lei family is? It's Lei Yuan, the dean of Tiangong College. Hiss, the dean of one of the 3 major colleges. It is said that anyone with this black card is a guest of honor of the Lei family. Whoever gets this card is either rich or noble, either a high-ranking official or a wealthy person. Yeah, I didn't expect that a student from a poor place would get a black card today. Listening to the discussions of the people around him, Chin-shi immediately understood the black card in his hand, of preciousness. He was about to refuse when he saw Captain Lei Bo waving his hand. Young man, everyone thinks that our Lei family's success is due to our genius head. But our head himself said that the Lei family can be today because of his wisdom in identifying people. Dean Lei alone cannot change JoJo, but a large number of young and promising talents can change the world. Young man, you are excellent, you have strength and courage, and you will definitely have a bright future. Lei Bo, if I can use a mere black card to gain your friendship, I will make a big profit. Without giving Qin Shi time to refuse, he patted Qin Shi on the shoulder. Turning around, facing the teased girl. You were bullied on my ship. It's my fault that I, Lei Bo, am incompetent. I have just ordered my subordinates to upgrade you two to the first-class cabin. I hope you won't refuse. Let me express my apologies. The hunchbacked girl's brother rolled his eyes and was about to say something. But the girl behind him pulled the man and smiled. Thank you, Captain Lei, for the trouble. Then she looked at Qin Shi again, with a light in her eyes. She bowed deeply to Qin Shi. I want to thank you even more, my benefactor. Please tell me your name. I will repay you if I have the chance in the future. No need to repay, it's just a piece of cake. My name is Qin Shi. Qin Shi touched his head embarrassedly. You're welcome. The words were not finished yet. Suddenly, his pupils widened and the kunai in his hand shot out. The kunai shot at the girl. In the girl's horrified eyes, the kunai passed through the girl's hair and stabbed straight behind her. Qin Shi's sudden shooting also made the onlookers notice something strange. Everyone turned their heads to look. What kind of monster is that? Ghost, it's a ghost. The passengers around couldn't help but cover their mouths and began to flee in panic. In the eyes of everyone's fear, the girl also turned around tremblingly. With just one glance, her face was pale. Behind her, a monster was floating. White bone mask, dark body, and a huge hole in the chest. Saliva dripped from the monster's mouth, and it stared at the girl, as if looking at the most delicious food. Host, please pay attention. Host, please pay attention, you have found a monster, Shu. The system prompt sound rang in Qin Shi's ears. Shu, a monster from the death plane, level, first level, type, vengeful spirit. Introduction. Some dead souls, due to their attachment to the present world or other obstacles, cannot ascend to heaven and wander in places that attract them. After years of sorrow and torture, or accelerated by external factors, they eventually fall into emptiness. It's a monster, a monster. Someone shouted, monster invasion, monster invasion. The tourists on the boat fled in all directions, desperately trying to avoid the monster. What, you said that ordinary people can't see the hollow in the bleach? Please, this is a world where everyone has spiritual power, where are ordinary people? The hollow in the bleach world. Qin Shi frowned and shot the kunai in his hand again. At the end of the kunai, there was an almost transparent silk thread. The kunai shot through the hollow's body and hit the mast not far away. The hollow is a ghost, with the characteristic of being immune to physical attacks. The system sounded a prompt again. Of course I know, have you ever seen a ghost killed by a kitchen knife? Qin Shi complained in his heart. He quickly pulled the silk thread that pulled the kunai, and bit his teeth tightly. Fire escape, great fireball technique. The hot flames rolled forward along the silk thread and instantly pierced through the body of the virtual. Oh. Under the burning of the flame knife, the virtual opened its big black mouth and disappeared in a howl. Since you are immune to physical damage, I will use fire escape to save you. Looking at the virtual burned by the flames, Qin Shi's face showed a fierce look. If there is only this virtual, it's nothing, but... He looked solemnly and looked around the cruise ship. One after another, countless virtuals floated up from the sea and floated above the cruise ship. The tourists ran away frantically and began to avoid the attacks of the virtual. Qin Shi shot two kunai at the pole of the boat. The kunai accurately hit the almost transparent silk thread. Bang bang. The Hung Yuan Baiwen and his bodyguard fell heavily to the ground. The monster invaded, and the two of them were hanging in the air, which was simply the monster's rations. Quickly breaking free from the thread, the lizardman Meiwen glared at Qin Shi fiercely. But he still didn't dare to rush forward again. Now there are monsters all around, and he needs to protect the safety of his employer. Quickly cut the thread that bound Yuan Baiwen, and then pulled him to the corner of the cabin. At this moment, Yuan Baiwen has collapsed on the ground, his legs shaking constantly. This, what the hell is this, a monster? How could a monster appear in JoJo? What kind of shit luck do I have today? First I was bullied, and then I met a monster. He cursed, tears and snot, and the whole person almost collapsed. Monsters, foreign monsters that all JoJo citizens fear. They came out of the endless gray fog. Under the repulsion of the plain power, countless monsters hated humans and attacked them crazily. The territory of JoJo has been reduced from 9 million square kilometers 300 years ago to 3 million now. But the situation of JoJo is still good. Countless countries have been destroyed by the invasion of monsters, and the Eagle Country and the Kimchi Country have been wiped out from the long river of history. Only a few countries have survived because they are far away from the strange gray fog. The current JoJo has built a huge array barrier, which finally isolates the gray fog. Although peace has come, it is not smooth sailing. The array barrier always has loopholes, and occasionally a small amount of gray fog will cross the barrier and penetrate into the territory of JoJo. 9 years ago, the monsters broke out in Linhai City and shocked the whole country. But such things are rare after all. The concentration of gray fog has not reached a certain level, and monsters can hardly be born. So 9 years have passed, and the same thing has not happened a second time. But today, 9 years later, monsters appear in front of humans again. Master Yuan, be careful, Mei Wen shouted anxiously. A void flew in the air and pounced on Yuan Baiwen, who was curled up on the ground. I don't have any attribute attack methods. Lizard-faced Mei Wen gritted his teeth, took a deep breath, and then held it. Then he slapped Yuan Baiwen on the back. The void bit, but missed. Void can sense human souls and devour human souls. Simple invisibility cannot escape its devouring. But Yuan Baiwen was like he was not in this space, and was not affected at all. This is the extension of Mei Wen's God's alibi ability, God's accomplice. God's accomplice can make the person touched also use God's alibi at the same time. In addition to sneak attacks, he has no other means of attack. He can be Yuan Baiwen's bodyguard because of this, God's accomplice. More and more voids are flying around. Several tourists ran to the cabin to hide, but were still swallowed by Void's soul. Void has no entity and can penetrate walls. In the small cabin, people have become lambs to be slaughtered. Everyone be careful, this kind of monster is called Void. They are a kind of ghosts, they have no entity, so physical attacks are useless, and they can penetrate walls. Qin Shi shouted loudly, trying his best to remind every passenger. But don't panic, this kind of little void is not strong. As long as you use elemental attacks such as water, fire, wind and thunder, it will be easy to defeat them. As he said, he spit fire from his mouth. Another fireball was sprayed straight at a void that was chasing a little girl. Oh! After struggling in the flames, the void quickly turned into green smoke. Monsters can be killed. 2 fireballs with first-class visual effects instantly killed 2 voids. Qin Shi injected a shot of adrenaline into everyone's hearts. Elemental attack. I wonder if this will work. A fat man in a suit shivered and took out a green mushroom from his pocket. He threw the mushroom on the ground and disappeared immediately. Shu, who was chasing him, floated over and just walked on top of the mushroom. There was an explosion with a bang. A poisonous mist exploded and enveloped Shu. Oh! In the poisonous mist, Shu's expression became more and more depressed, and finally he lay down and disappeared. I'm going, this works. My Teemo heritage, today, it's working. The fat man in a suit roared to the sky. Other tourists also began to fight back one after another. But more people were like headless flies, and they could only run away with their heads in their hands. Everyone, don't run around, come to me, stand behind me. Captain Lei Bo shouted loudly. He took the equipment handed over by a sailor and put it on quickly. He carried a cylinder on his back and held a nozzle in his hand. This is a set of flamethrowers. A void pounced over. You dare to come to my ship to cause trouble, I'll kill you. Captain Lei Bo roared and pressed the switch of the nozzle. A flame sprayed forward, burning the void to ashes. The roots of the Wanli sunshine are all over Kyushu, and it also goes to the very cold Rinshu. Therefore, some flamethrowers are prepared to defrost the hull when it freezes. I, Lei Bo, have also killed a monster today. Seeing that the attack was effective, the captain suddenly became energetic. All passengers form a circle, and the sailors holding flamethrowers will protect the passengers. Passengers who can use elemental attacks stand on the periphery and assist in attacking monsters. He shouted and burned another void that pounced on a mother and son. Everyone, come together. Monster, right, disc it. Go together, or we will all die. All come too. I was the president of our university's magic club and I know some elemental magic. All come too. My inheritance is Luo Sanpao, which can fart and kill these monsters. Quote. At the captain's call, the passengers gathered on the deck. More and more passengers joined the battle. Some of them could wave their folding fans to send out wind blades. Some could shoot ice arrows. Some called for holy light, which fell and purified the monsters. But after all, small virtual beings have the ability to float and dodge in the air. Many people often attack 4 or 5 times, but they may not be able to kill a small virtual being. Oh. On the other side, a virtual being near a teenager was quickly eliminated. Everyone looked at him involuntarily. Compared with the speed at which they killed monsters, the teenager was much more efficient. The Lord, the mask of flesh and blood, the myriad things, the flying wings, the things named after humans. Scorching heat and strife, rolling back to the south across the sea, marching forward. The 31st of the broken path, the red fire cannon. Qin Shi stood on the periphery of the crowd, using his fingers as a gun, firing fireballs. Although the power of the red fire cannon is not as strong as the great fireball technique, it is better in that it can attack from a distance and consumes little spiritual power. The floating voids are also small resentful ghosts. As long as there is a method of attribute attack, it is not difficult to kill them. It is also a long-range attack, but his accuracy is too high. The middle-aged woman who shot 10 ice arrows and finally killed a void panted and sat on the ground. That's it. I fanned out so many wind blades, but only hit 2 monsters. He killed 20. If he participated in the shooting competition, he would definitely win the championship. Another young man waving a folding fan exclaimed. Raise your hands, shoot, raise your hands again, shoot again. Qin Shi's movements were smooth, and the hollows turned into smoke one by one while howling. With the blessing of the Sharingan's strong dynamic vision, the hollows flying around in the air looked like crawling snails in his eyes. There was no difficulty in shooting. He shot a hollow with 1 shot, and every shot was successful. You are good, kid. You are worthy of being a student of the Monster Hunting Academy. Captain Lei Bo looked at the fighting Qin Shi and couldn't help but praise him. But I am the captain, I can't be compared with you. He was so excited that he simply took off his clothes. Holding a fire extinguisher in one hand, 2 fire dragons were fired at the same time. Roar, come on, burn you monsters to death. And Zhang Hao and Chen Fu also joined the battle. Half of Zhang Hao's body turned into an elk, holding a fire extinguisher in each hand. White foam sprayed out and hit Shu's face directly. Chen Fu also took out a tiny spider bomb. The spiders nimbly ran to Shu's front and then exploded. A series of piercing sounds rang out. This is a sonic boom bomb. The noisy noise made Shu like a headless and tailless fly, temporarily losing the ability to perceive human souls. Then he was burned to death by other sailors with flamethrowers. Qin Shi was delighted to see his friends fighting on the edge of the crowd to protect tourists. After going through the gates of hell, their inheritance levels have all improved. It seems that life and death crisis is the fastest way to improve inheritance. The battle was stalemate. Everyone didn't know how many small Shu were killed. Finally, someone couldn't help but complain. We killed one after another, why didn't these Shu die? Hoo, not only did their number not decrease, it seems to have increased. The female tourist who was blowing out wind blades with a paper fan was panting. Her spiritual power was almost exhausted. The other tourists who participated in the battle were in a similar situation. There were more than a dozen small virtual beings when they first appeared. Good guy, now there are only 30 or 40 of them. If the defensive position had not been established, the crowd would have been slaughtered. If we continue like this, there will be no air in the flamethrower. A sailor shook the fire pot that had no air, shook his head and retreated to the protected crowd. This is not a solution. Qin Shi thought desperately. These small virtual beings can't be killed, as if they all came out of the sea. And they don't look very smart, but they know how to besiege. There must be a leading monster. Catch the leader first. Only by killing the leading virtual being can the other small virtual beings disappear. Thinking of this, Qin-Shi came up with an idea. He rushed out of the crowd and quickly jumped into the encirclement of the virtual beings. Seeing the prey coming to the door by itself, several small virtual beings attracted by Qin-Shi's delicious soul, he pounced and bit him. You little monsters want to devour my soul. Qin-Shi sneered. The black jade in his eyes rotated rapidly. With the dynamic vision of the Sharingan, Qin-Shi evaded all the attacks of the hollows. Shadow clone technique. A figure exactly like Qin-Shi appeared. Fire style, great fireball technique. The two Qin-Shi stood back to back, and the scorching flames erupted in two directions. The fire curtain burned nearly 10 small hollows in front of him. Finally, the system made a sound. Ding, because you killed too many small hollows, you are locked by a malicious force. The Eye of Inheritance is activated, and the source of malicious force is being detected. Ding, the source of malicious force has been found, 50 meters northeast, the monster name, Killian Juvenile. Found you. Following the instructions of the system, Qin-Shi finally found the leading monster. On the bow of the Wanli Sunshine, there is a sculpture that looks like a lion and the sun. There is a floating void that looks exactly like the other voids. But unlike the other voids with a hollow chest, a gray demon core appears and disappears in its chest from time to time. This unique void just stands quietly on the bow, watching its own tribe attack humans. Is that you? Qin-Shi frowned as he looked at the void floating on the bow in the distance. It was not until then that he noticed an important detail. The voids on the ship are not distributed in an irregular manner. Instead, they extend along the bow to the crowd, and along the way, they are densely packed with floating voids. All the voids are protecting the unique void with a demon core, intentionally or unintentionally. And more voids are coming out of the sea water next to the void on the bow, and then flying towards the crowd. In a short time, the number has exceeded 50. Too many. Qin-Shi retreated to the defense circle. How is it? Have you found the leader monster? The captain was smoking a pipe and holding a musket to burn another approaching void to death. Well, I found it, at the bow, but unfortunately there are too many voids along the way, so I can't get through. Qin-Shi said, and suddenly his eyes lit up. By the way, using that skill, maybe. He turned his head and looked at the crowd. In the corner of the protected crowd, Yuan Baiwen was holding his head in his hands, squatting on the ground and shivering. Beside him, the lizard man Meiwen was also standing next to him, and did not go outside the circle to kill the void. Qin-Shi walked over quickly. Is your skill called God's Accomplice, which can hide others and yourself together? Meiwen looked at Qin-Shi and nodded hesitantly. I want you to use this skill to lead me to the void near the bow. It is the only void with a demon core among all the demon beasts. Once it is killed, these small voids will scatter and flee. This is the only way to save the tourists present. I need your help. Qin-Shi stared into Meiwen's eyes and said, you must help me, otherwise, you will die too. In addition to avoiding the attacks of many small virtuals along the way. Qin-Shi was actually more worried about one thing. Through the Eye of Inheritance, he knew that the leading virtual was called Killian Juvenile. What is Killian? It is a giant virtual in the world of death that is produced by many weak virtuals devouring each other. They have a nickname, Big Virtual. Although Killian is only a lower-level Big Virtual, as long as he becomes a Big Virtual. Compared with the small virtual just now, the spiritual power of the Big Virtual will be increased by 100 times. You can even use the Big Virtual's signature skill, Virtual Flash. This is a ray-like flash formed by highly compressing spiritual power, and the effect is like a cannon. Once Killian uses the Virtual Flash, not only will the tourists suffer heavy casualties, but even the 1,000 miles sunshine may be damaged in the sea. By then, I'm afraid it will be a titanic plot. So Qin-Shi needs Meiwen's help. His combination skills, God's Alibi, plus God's Accomplice. It has a powerful concealment effect that cannot be detected by any means. Not only can it avoid the damage to the soul by the void along the way, but it can also sneak attack it when the void with only the demon core cannot detect it. To destroy the demon core, a powerful offensive means is needed. Although Meiwen does not have this, he has it. He has used the epic scroll Thousand Birds given to him by Lin Long, and added some points. As long as I can get in front of the void, I can kill it with one blow. Qin Shi said to Mei Wen affirmatively. Mei Wen hesitated for a while and was about to nod. Suddenly Yuan Baiwen hugged him. No, I don't agree. He looked terrified and had not recovered from the fear of the void attack. You, kid, you bullied me before, and this matter is not over yet. Now you want my bodyguard again, you want me dead. Mei Wen, you are my bodyguard. If you leave me, what should I do if those monsters attack me? And these people, they all have bad intentions towards me. Yuan Baiwen pointed at Zhang Hao and Chen Fu. If you leave, who knows what they will do to me, maybe throw me outside to be eaten by those monsters. What? Zhang Hao also got angry. You have been hiding in the inner circle for so long, if we hadn't killed monsters outside, you would have died long ago. Yuan Baiwen ignored him and pulled Mei Wen to say. I have an idea. There are so many people here, which just attracts those monsters. Use your skills, let's sneak to the stern, I have a universal capsule with a speedboat inside. There are only 2 of us, there are so many people on this ship, the monsters can't abandon them to chase us. Just like that, quick, Mei Wen, I order you to take me away now, I will give you 5 million when I return to the Yuan family. Qin Shi's expression gradually turned cold. Aren't you afraid that the monsters will continue to chase you after eating us? By the time these monsters have eaten all of you, we will have run away long ago. Yuan Baiwen spit. The Yuan family is a famous monster hunting family after all, so do you think they can harm others like this? Captain Lei Bo couldn't help but come over, naked and ferocious. Boy, you have a good idea. I tell you, you can't leave unless these tourists are rescued. This kid Chin from the Monster Hunting Academy asked you to help, so you should cooperate with me honestly. Otherwise, I will feed you to the monsters now. As he said that, he reached out to grab Yuan Baiwen. But he grabbed nothing. It's bad. Qin Shi activated the Sharingan to look. In the Sharingan, he didn't see the figures of the 2 people. Mei Wen finally listened to Yuan Baiwen's words. He activated the God's Alibi and God's Accomplice, and took Yuan Baiwen away from the crowd. Bang! Green smoke rose at the stern, and a 10-meter-long speedboat suddenly appeared on the undulating sea. Mei Wen jumped off the speedboat with Yuan Baiwen in his arms. Several virtuals discovered the fleeing humans and chased after them with howls. Mei Wen had just unlocked his ability and started the speedboat. Seeing the virtual coming, he couldn't catch his breath yet, so he could only hold his breath and continued to activate his ability. The Shu lost his target and wandered around unconsciously. The speedboat started and flew away into the depths of the sea. Several Shu floated in the air, and finally the ship with more people attracted them and slowly flew back. Look, those 2 people escaped. Someone in the crowd shouted. I don't want to wait to die, I also have a universal capsule. 7 or 8 people shouted and ran out of the crowd. Shu found a human running out of the defense circle and chased after him with a roar. Instantly sucked away the souls of several people. Only 2 people ran the fastest, and ran to the side of the boat while the virtual swallowed the people behind him. One person trembled and threw a capsule into the water, and a motorboat appeared. He jumped down, but didn't aim, and fell directly into the sea. Another person lay on the ground, using the inherited ability to extend an octopus-like suction cup. He slid down the side of the ship quickly and sat steadily on the motorboat that the unlucky guy had just released. He was happy and was about to start the motorboat. Suddenly his face froze. A virtual had already floated above him, and the saliva in its mouth dripped onto his head. A scream came, and blood bloomed on the motorboat. Seeing the tragedy, Qin Shi couldn't bear it anymore. If you don't want to die, stay here, he roared. Several crew members also began to prevent people from escaping. The commotion of the crowd gradually subsided. But the signs of collapse have already appeared. I can't wait any longer. Without Maven, I can only force my way in. Looking at the deck densely covered with voids in the distance, Qin Shi's eyes were fixed on the leader void at the farthest bow. The 39th way of binding, the round gate fan. He chanted the spell. 2 arc-shaped light barriers appeared beside him and wrapped him up. The light barrier was made of power, and it was also one of the ghost skills used by captains in the world of death. The void could not penetrate the round gate fan and attack Qin Shi. But the barrier was made of spiritual power after all. As long as the void continued to use suicide attacks to consume the barrier, sooner or later, the barrier would break. At that time, Qin Shi, who had no soul defense ability, would only have death in the face of the swallowing of many voids. Even if I can get closer to the leader void, it will be fine. Qin Shi estimated the distance and the number of monsters along the way. He knew that this trip would only be dangerous. The captain glanced at him. Qin kid, you mean, as long as you can get closer to the leader, you can kill it? Qin Shi nodded. At least I have a better chance. At the critical moment, the naked captain laughed. Okay, let me help you. He took a deep puff of the pipe in his mouth, and then threw it away. Then, he took out a can from his trouser pocket. There were 2 big words on the can, spinach. My inheritance is B-level, Sailor Popeye. As he said, he opened the can and poured the spinach into his mouth. The captain, who was originally fat, suddenly began to change. The fat shrank and turned into 8 abdominal muscles. The biceps continued to bulge, and the feet became thicker. Hot air spurted out from the tip of his nose, like a steam engine. Transformation is complete. Now I am Popeye. Popeye the sailor is the protagonist in Popeye. As long as he eats spinach, he will have infinite power. Looking at the bulging muscles of Captain Lei Bo at this moment, Qin Shi has no doubt that he can defeat an elephant now. I will throw you directly over later, and it should be thrown to a position 50 meters in front of the bow. The captain twisted his arm and said confidently. 50 meters. Qin Shi's eyes lit up. He is now at least 100 meters away from the bow. If he can shorten the distance by half, he is confident that he can rush to the opponent before he is surrounded by the virtual. Then come on. Time is running out. He holds his head with both hands, and the whole person curls up in the light ball wrapped by the round gate fan. Handsome captain, big shot. Lei Bo raised the light ball wrapped around Qin Shi and threw it with all his strength. The light ball drew an arc in the sky. It landed accurately on the deck on the right side of the bow. If it weren't for the fence, Qin Shi would have been thrown into the sea. It was thrown too crookedly. Lei Bo smacked his lips. Although the direction was crooked, but the force was strong. Qin Shi fell to the ground and rolled, and it was estimated that the virtual at the bow was only 50 meters away. All the virtuals noticed Qin Shi's actions, especially the leader virtual at the bow. Although his reason was low, his instinctive sense of crisis made him feel scared. Oh oh oh, it roared, and all the virtuals turned their heads and flew around restlessly. Not only that, more virtuals flew out of the sea at a speed far exceeding the previous one. Oh, the leader virtual actually sucked the newly emerged virtual from the sea into its empty chest. This is the devouring of the virtual. Warning host, the monster Jillian is evolving in its infancy, and the evolution is expected to be completed in 5 seconds. A warning sound came from the system. At the reminder of the system, Qin Shi quickly looked at the leader's shoe. Its body expanded rapidly, and it had expanded 3 times in less than a second. The demon core that appeared and disappeared in the hollow chest also became clearer. Qin Shi could even see that there seemed to be something in the center of the demon core. Is that a star? The roar of the great Shukirian interrupted his thoughts. Hurry up. Qin Shi gritted his teeth and grabbed the wrist of his right hand with his left hand. In an instant, it seemed like countless birds were singing. Dazzling lightning appeared in his right hand. A-level ninjutsu, thunder release, Chidori. His feet suddenly exerted force, and the whole person shot out like a sharp arrow. The effect of thunder release stimulated the cells in his feet, greatly increasing his running speed. He rushed straight towards the enemy without any dodge. Forward without hesitation. Oh oh, the great hollow, Killian roared, and ordered the hollows on the deck to attack Qin Shi. It wanted to stop the pace of this dangerous man. Dozens of hollows rushed towards Qin Shi. Qin Shi's eyes were fierce. Instant body technique, start. Under the effect of the instant body technique, Qin Shi's speed increased further. Like a gust of wind. Even with the strong dynamic ability of the Sharingan, he felt that his feet were almost out of his control. The balance of the whole body was on the verge of losing control. All the hollows chasing him could not keep up with his speed and were left behind by him. Killian shook his body, and a red energy ball gathered in his mouth. This is the signature skill of the Great Hollow Flash. Its evolution is almost complete, and it can barely use this Hollow Flash. The spiritual power is compressed into a sphere and gathered in Killian's mouth. The energy ball is getting bigger and bigger, and it is about to be launched. But Qin Shi's speed is too fast. Almost instantly, he had broken through the distance of 50 meters and arrived in front of Killian. Chidori, thrust. Amid the sound of the bird's cry of the ninjutsu, he jumped high and put the 5 fingers of his right hand together. Lightning flashed between him, like a sharp electric knife. Squeak. Qin Shi's lightning cut technique hit the demon core in Killian's chest. Oh. The demon core was destroyed, and Killian couldn't control the flash of the virtual in his mouth. A high concentration spiritual energy ball was ejected onto the sea surface in the distance. The sea surface exploded, and a huge water column rushed into the sky. It was like shattering glass. The demon core cracked with cracks. Then it turned into dust. Killian's figure also dissipated. Not only the leader virtual, but all the small virtual figures present were also agitated and disappeared one after another. In a few breaths, all the virtual disappeared. If the battle had not left a striking mark on the Wanli Sunshine, everyone would have doubted whether the monster had ever come. Ha, I won. Qin Shi let out a heavy breath, and his heart finally settled down. But it doesn't seem good. His face was down, and his body was still floating above the bow, with the blue sea below. He wanted to turn his body, but he was in pain all over, and he could hardly move. He had felt this feeling the night he obtained the inheritance. This was the feeling of running out of spiritual power. But the system didn't give me spiritual power fruit this time. Miscalculated, there is no cool ending. Quote, Qin Shi smiled helplessly and fell into a coma. The strength of his thrust was gone, and his body fell into the sea like a lead block. When Qin Shi opened his eyes dazedly, he was already lying on the green grass of the 1,000 Miles Sunshine. This was originally the VIP area of the cruise ship. He touched his hair. Wet. Oh my God, I fell into the sea again. Sleepiness surged. Snooze for a while, I've lost some energy, I need to make up for it. Just when Qin Shi was about to close his eyes and continue sleeping, a mechanical sound rang in his ears. Ding, the host is detected to be awake, and the kill reward is now calculated. You kill the monster Killian, you can choose one of the following 3 rewards. 1. Void, you can turn yourself into a ghost, so that you can be immune to all physical attacks. Please note that after becoming a void, you can no longer turn into a human. 2. Void Flash, as Void Ultimate move, you can highly compress your soul into an energy cannon for use. As a successor, you can also use spiritual power to replace the spiritual pressure of the Death God plane. 3. Spiritual Power Gift, you can permanently obtain 1/5 of the spiritual power of the monster by killing it. You have 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, the system will default to you giving up the choice. Now countdown, 10, 9, 8, 7. When Qin Shi heard that there was a killing reward, he was no longer sleepy. There is a killing reward. The selection time was only 10 seconds, and he dared not delay any longer. Don't look at the first one, just exclude it directly. I want to be a human, not a ghost. Qin Shi directly ignored the first option and became entangled between the second and third options. Void Flash is a good ultimate move, far beyond attack, and powerful. Permanently increasing spiritual power is also good, but isn't it too little to only increase 1/5? Qin Shi hesitated between 2 and 3, just as the system sounded a 3-second red light warning. He finally gritted his teeth and pressed option 3. The blue bar is the foundation. What's the use of having more blue skills without blue? It's still like Kakashi, who gasps for air with Kamui. Select to leave the hand. Ding, the host has chosen the kill reward 3, and is calculating. The monster Killian, also known as the Great Hollow, has a full state spiritual power value of 30 cards, and the host has a permanent spiritual power value increase of 6 cards. Expanding the personal panel. Host, Qin Shi. Inheritance name, Six Paths Obito Naruto type. Inheritance level, LV5 601,000. Current spiritual power value, 16 cards. Remaining skill points, 5. Unlocked bloodline limit, double Magatama Sharingan. Unlocked skills, Taijutsu LV2 Throwing Technique LV2 3 Body Technique LV2 Windmill 3 Great Swords LV2 Great Fireball Technique LV2 Phoenix Fire Technique LV1 Earth Dragon Hidden Technique LV1 Heart Decapitation Technique LV1 Chidori LV2 3 Moon Dance LV1 Sharingan Copy Skills 31 Red Fire Cannons of the Broken Path LV1 26 Curved Lights of the Binding Path LV2 39 Circular Gate Fans of the Binding Path LV2 Instant Body Technique LV1 Unlocked Illusion Technique. Torture Technique will be automatically upgraded after Sharingan is strengthened. Killing the monster also gave him 1000 experience points, which successfully upgraded him. The system automatically awarded 5 skill points and gave him the ninjutsu 3 Moon Dance. Strictly speaking, this is a set of combined skills. This is the swordsmanship used by the special Jonin Gekko Hayate of Konoha in Naruto, and it is also his famous skill. Use the shadow clone technique to summon 2 shadow clones, and then the clones and the main body quickly move in front of the enemy, attacking the enemy's vital points from the left, top, and right. It can only be used after the physical skills reach LV2 and the shadow clone technique and the instant body technique are mastered. Chin-shi happened to meet all these prerequisites. System. Obito also knows swordsmanship. In Chin-shi's memory, Obito used a round fan and a chain, and after entering the Six Paths mode, he also used the artifact, Amanuma Spear. But he never used a sword. The system was silent for a while. If you don't want it, this system can take it back. Hiss, this system, is it still temperamental? Chin-shi quickly added some points to the newly learned 3 days Moon Dance. Yes, why not? The inheritor should be better than the master. After taking the upgrade reward, Chin-shi noticed the terrifying total amount of spiritual power of the Great Hollow Kirin. I've heard that the total amount of spiritual power of monsters far exceeds that of us inheritors. If it weren't for his poor brains, he would have beaten us inheritors long ago. I just didn't expect it to be so high. A monster that has just entered the 1-star level has 30 cards of spiritual power, which is twice as high as mine. It seems that choosing to increase the spiritual power is the right choice. After the settlement, Chin-shi slowly sat up. Wake up, you wake up. Accompanied by a pig-like roar, 2 fat arms hugged him tightly. Lao Zhong, Zhong Hao. We are all men, don't stick to me so closely, I feel sick. Chin-shi pushed his good brother away with disdain. Only then did he realize that Zhong Hao was also soaked all over. Brother, you can save me in the sea. Chin-shi asked with emotion. It wasn't him, it was the captain who saved you. Chen Fu also ran over excitedly and put a blanket on Chin-shi. Zhong Hao wanted to save you, but when he got into the water, he found that he couldn't swim either. It was the captain who went into the sea to pull you two out. Captain Lei Bo, who was organizing the crew to repair the deck, heard the noise and walked over quickly. Are you awake? He patted Chin-shi's shoulder with admiration. I gave you the black card before because I thought you were brave and I liked you. Now you have killed the leader monster, not only saving me, but also saving the lives of all the passengers. Lei Bo excitedly patted Chin-shi's shoulders. Ahem, brother Bo, calm down, you broke my bones. Lei Bo laughed. You kid, come to your brother Bo if you have any difficulties in the future. If I can't solve it, the Lei family will come forward to help you. You are really good. You can even kill a 1-star monster. Monsters are divided into 1st level, 2nd level to 7th level monsters according to their strength. Low-level monsters are just some weak monsters. They are numerous, but they don't pose much of a threat. Star-level monsters are the elite among monsters. Each class of monsters has its own strong ones. Star-level monsters are the top of the strength among monsters of this class. 1-star monsters can be said to be the strongest among 1st-level monsters, and can even be comparable to some weaker 2nd-level monsters. The method of distinguishing between ordinary monsters and star-level monsters is also very simple. Just see if there is a monster core with starlight. Go, bring the bead that was salvaged. Captain Lei Bo called to the sailor. A crew member nodded and handed over a bead. 1-star bead. Qin Chuan looked at the 1-star bead that looked like one of the 7 Dragon Balls in the Dragon Ball animation. Yes, it is a 1-star bead, but we prefer to call it a demon stone. The captain, smoking a pipe, took the 1-star bead from the sailor and handed it to Qin Shi. Only when you kill a powerful monster among monsters, a star monster, will such a bead fall after the monster core breaks. Crush the bead, and you will get a treasure or a skill from the other world to which the monster belongs. This 1-star bead is the proof that you killed a 1-star monster. The higher the star level, the greater the probability of obtaining high-quality items. You killed this monster, so the bead naturally belongs to you. After speaking so many words in one breath, the captain took 2 puffs of his pipe. After listening to his explanation, Qin understood. The principle is the same as opening a box in his previous life's online game. Kill higher-level monsters and open higher-level treasure chests to get better equipment and skills. It turns out that the reason why this world has technology from different worlds, in addition to the various inheritances, is more of the various items and skills brought by the monster stone. He thought secretly. A few people in the crowd cast greedy eyes at the beads, and then turned their heads away. It seems that this bead is worth a lot of money, and someone still cares about him. Qin picked up the 1-star bead and crushed it. Unlike the indestructible Dragon Ball in Dragon Ball, this 1-star bead was like a glass ball, and was crushed by Qin with a little force. The bead disappeared, and a knife fell into his hand instead. The snow-white blade and black handle looked like the Tang sword in Qin world. Ding! The host has obtained the weapon of the God of Death world, Asato. Asato is the original form of Zanpakuto in the world of death. This Asato is the weapon of a captain in the 13th division of the Gote. If this Asato can be released, it may be possible to reactivate the power of that captain. I'm so lucky. The system just rewarded a sword technique and opened this Zanpakuto. Seeing the weapon in Qin hand, Leibo walked forward. This knife seems to be from the Shinigami world. Alas, it's not a general-purpose item. Xiao Qin, you can trade this kind of weapon from another world on an auction site like Wanbao Pavilion. After all, weapons and skills from a different world will have a much lower effect when used. After hearing the captain's reminder, Qin Shizheng remembered that Su Xiaoxiao used a lot of scrolls at the graduation ceremony in Linhai City. But almost all of them were from the Naruto world. He thought it was just a coincidence at the time. Now think about it. That was because Su Xiaoxiao had long known that the powers of different worlds had a lot of conflicts. The effect of using them was far inferior to the skills from the same world as his own. Therefore, he used the ninjutsu scrolls from the Naruto world. Brother Qin, you should put this Asachi sword on sale at Wanbao Pavilion. There should be many inheritors of the world of death who want an Asachi sword. Captain Leibo couldn't help but remind Qin when he was stunned. After all, this is the iconic weapon of the Gote 13 in the world of death. I estimate that it is not a problem to sell it for 500,000 or 600,000. But you are the descendant of the Hokage, there is a conflict of power. If you use this sword, I am afraid you will not be able to open the Shikai in your lifetime. Qin came back to his senses and thanked Captain Lei. He put the Asachi sword on his waist. Captain Leibo's words made sense, but Qin had already made up his mind to use this Zanpakuto. Conflict of power between different worlds. It does not exist. Because he has a god-level physique, son of 10,000 worlds. He can perfectly control the power system of all different worlds. When I first got the Son of the 10,000 Worlds physique from the system gift pack, I didn't feel anything. Now that I think about it, it's really a product of the system, it must be a masterpiece. Being able to control all the powers, weapons, and skills of the other world, this is already a god's physique. Laughing at the system's bugs, Qin stood up and began to count the gains from killing the Great Void. To describe it in one word, that is, full of gains. It seems that killing monsters is dangerous, but the rewards are also quite generous. I really made the right choice to go the path of monster hunting. People are in the other world, and there is a system. If I don't become the strongest in the world, wouldn't it be a shame for the time traveler? Qin walked into the cabin, took a simple shower, and changed into clean clothes. But his face was still a little pale. The overdraft of spiritual power requires at least a whole day of rest to fully recover. Walking onto the deck again, Qin leaned on the railing and looked into the distance. But he was thinking about the monster attack just now. Jojo is still relatively peaceful. Although gray fog occasionally penetrates the barrier, it causes small monsters to appear in Jojo. But that is only a very small number. Domestically, peace is still the main thing. Outside JoJo, after walking out of the barrier. That is the world of monsters. Every year, many monsters attack the barrier. And the ordinary army of JoJo can still rely on fire suppression and low-level inheritance to deal with weak first-level monsters. But for monsters above the first level, they need special monster hunters from all over the place to deal with them. Monster hunters can be regarded as the elite special forces in the JoJo army. This big virtual is just in the evolution stage, and it has not completely mastered the ability of a one-star monster, so I can kill it. Otherwise, if an old-fashioned one-star monster comes, it is really not certain who will win and who will die. But, Qin-Shi thought about the battle just now. He looked at Captain Lei Bo beside him. The other party was also looking at him. Did you find something unusual? Qin-Shi nodded. This time, there was a monster, but no gray fog. Lei Bo nodded. Yes, to be honest, there is a special detection device on the Wanli Sunshine ship. It can detect the existence of gray fog in time. But this time, the detector has not sounded the alarm. It means that these monsters are raised in this sea. Qin-Shi continued. Lei Bo looked solemn and nodded. Although it is incredible, this is the most reasonable guess at present. Privately raising monsters, or such evil beasts that attack humans, this is a serious crime in JoJo. I will report to our head of the family immediately, and you too. Lei Bo looked at Qin-Shi. When you get to the academy, remember to inform the principal of the Monster Hunting Academy. I always feel that there is something behind this matter. Yeah, Qin-Shi nodded. In fact, he still had some things to say to Captain Lei Bo. Compared to the monsters that suddenly appeared in the sea, the evolution of the monsters surprised him more. I never taught in class that monsters can evolve. Qin-Shi thought secretly in his heart. Against the background of the invasion of monsters all over the world, monsterology is a compulsory subject for every student since childhood. Monsters, like the inheritance of the inheritors, are also creatures that exist in various different worlds. Although academic experts have not yet concluded whether the appearance of monsters was teleported by the gray fog or copied in the blue star like a copy. But at least one thing is certain. These monsters that appeared on the blue star will not be able to evolve or become stronger like those in the other world. From the beginning of their appearance, they are like a fixed level, with skills, NPC monsters that can be fixed. But this one is different. Although Captain Lei Bo thought it was originally a one-star monster. But I have a system reminder, knowing that it was originally just an ordinary first-level monster, but it was strengthened to 1 star. I have never heard of such an evolving monster. Just as he was thinking, a shout broke his thoughts. A passenger came over and toasted Qin-Shi to thank him for saving his life. Qin-Shi smiled faintly and raised his glass in response. Knowing his alcohol tolerance, this time the glass was filled with yogurt. More than 50 people have come to express their gratitude one after another. Qin-Shi looked at the passengers who were drinking and celebrating around the deck. Their faces showed the joy of escaping death, but also the sadness of losing their loved ones. But there are still many casualties. The monster invaded, and it was still a terrifying 1-star monster. No less than 10 passengers on the ship had their souls sucked away. There were more than a dozen people who died in the sea after fleeing randomly. One attack by the monster caused nearly 30 casualties on the ship. Even the brother and sister who were rescued by the playboy Yuan Baiwen are missing. I'm afraid they fell into the water. Qin-Shi sighed. Born in troubled times, the people of JoJo are more open-minded about life and death. In this environment of monster invasion, death has become a shadow. Therefore, the style of JoJo is not only martial, but also about enjoying life in time. The captain has dealt with the corpse, and the entire deck has returned to its previous cleanliness. Plates of exquisite food and bottles of delicious wine were also served. Captain Lei Bo spent a lot of money this time and invited all tourists to eat and drink for free. He wanted to dispel the sad atmosphere on the ship. Oh my god, 1,000-layer cake, cheese fried chicken, and Chang'an roast duck. Oh my god, today, I must stuff myself to death. Zhang Hao, who had just finished taking a shower, had bright eyes and immediately opened a can of Qingdao beer. Come on, Lao Qin, have a drink. Qin-Shi smiled slightly, walked around the beer, and picked up a cup of yogurt. We are all students, what kind of wine do we drink? In Zhang Hao's contemptuous eyes, Qin Shi sipped the yogurt leisurely. Suddenly, there was a click. A bright light flashed. Chapter 31. Qin Shi turned his head. A cute girl with big eyes was holding a camera and taking pictures of him. Who are you? Before he could ask, the cute girl had put away the camera and ran to him. Then she grabbed Qin Shi's hand. Hello, I am Dong Xiaoman, an intern reporter of the magazine, Yoshu Suit. Her eyes were shining, and she looked at Qin Shi as if she was looking at a delicious cake. I have learned that your name is Qin Shi, and you are a freshman at the Monster Hunting Academy this year. You are from Linhai City, 18 years old, 1.74 meters tall, 60 kilograms, currently single, and your favorite action movie from Sakura Country is. Qin Shi covered the female reporter's mouth with a slap, his expression stern and cold. Xiaodong, you see that many people have disappeared on this ship, you don't want your camera to be damaged, right? While covering the cute girl's mouth, he looked around fiercely. As for why this girl who just met knew his background, Qin Shi already had a guess. He looked at his friend who was stuffing roast duck into his mouth not far away. As expected, he saw Zhang Hao with a smug smile on his face. Tisk tisk, this time old Qin must be so grateful to me. Zhang Hao wiped his greasy mouth, turned around and picked up another piece of chowtu ribs. Demon Hunting Suit, this is the most popular magazine in the entire Kyushu kingdom. How can I not lend a hand when my brother is going to be interviewed? Thinking of this, Zhang Hao became more proud and ate more comfortably. The fat man even moved his lips and lip-synced, don't thank me. He must have not been beaten by his mother for too long. Qin Shi felt that as a friend, he had the responsibility to help his mother educate him. Looking at the cute girl's face flushed because of holding her breath, Qin Shi let go of her hand. The cute girl was panting slightly, but her eyes were brighter. You are so strong, you are worthy of being a student of the Demon Hunting Academy. I almost can't bear it. Student Qin, can you accept my interview? She stared at Qin Shi with sparkling eyes. However, Qin Shi waved his hand and began to run away. I am just a student. Don't interview me. Let me have a quiet school environment. Famous. Sorry, I, Qin Shi, don't have this idea. Look, which time traveler doesn't keep a low profile? It's just that the plot development later forced him to show off. Forced, understand, in this dangerous world, you must survive. Relying on your own efforts to become the strongest in the world, this is the right way. Qin Shi's firm refusal made the cute girl look disappointed. Then, just one question, just one. She followed Qin Shi closely, and the recorder was almost stuffed into Qin Shi's mouth. What inspired you to risk your life and face the terrifying monster alone? Say a few words, just say a few words. Just kidding, you think I want to go, but if I don't go, I will die. Qin Shi muttered in his heart, but a faint smile appeared on his face. There are hundreds of passengers standing behind me. We are fighting the enemy together. How can I be considered fighting alone? Besides, as a student of the Monster Hunting Academy, it is also my duty to protect the people. I have the red tassel in my hand, how dare I not bind the blue dragon? Just as Qin Shi escaped from the clutches of the cute girl reporter. On the other side of the sea, on a speedboat, Yuan Baiwen was slumped on the bow deck, looking anxious. Lizardman Meiwen stood in the cabin, holding the steering wheel with his hands at a loss, not knowing where to turn. The two fled into the sea when the virtual attack on the Wanli Sunshine was launched. At first, they were still happy, thinking that they had escaped death. But after a long time, they encountered a problem. The sea is boundless, and the two got off the boat halfway. Now they have lost their direction, and the gasoline in the speedboat has run out. Without a navigator, the sea is much more dangerous than the land. I should have brought 2 more bottles of wine when I left the 1,000 miles sunshine. He licked his cracked lips and looked at the scorching sun above his head. Then he looked at the blue sea beside him. Sighed. I'm dying of thirst. This is the sea, not the river. No matter how stupid Yuan Baiwen is, he still knows that seawater cannot be drunk. Don't worry, young master. Mei Wen looked calm and pointed to the green watch on Yuan Baiwen's wrist. This is the expensive mechanical watch brand of Kyushu country, Green Water Monster. I modified your watch before going to sea and installed a positioning device on it. As long as the news of the Thousand Miles Sunshine's disaster spreads, Yuan's security department will they will find us based on the location. We just need to wait quietly. Mei Wen didn't finish his words, and suddenly raised his eyebrows. He stretched his head and looked forward. A woman sat on the side of the speedboat. The woman was delicate and cute, wearing a light blue silk dress, with 2 dimples on her mouth, and her 2 little feet were dangling, playing with the sea water. It's you. Yuan Baiwen was shocked at first, and then secretly happy. This woman was the girl next door who he flirted with on the Wangli Sunshine. It's a pity that she was stopped by the boy named Qin Shi, which ruined his good dream. I didn't expect that the prey would come to the door by itself. Did you also escape from the ship? Quote. He looked at the girl. Sure enough, the girl's clothes were soaked by the sea water, and the thin silk skirt was close to her skin, and the girl's body was looming. I didn't expect this woman to look like a loli, but her figure is so royal. Yuan Baiwen swallowed his saliva. Just one look made him lustful. Yes, Mr. Yuan, the monsters on the ship are too scary. I finally jumped into the sea and escaped here. Ha! The girl's eyes were as charming as silk, and her voice was panting. Are you willing to take me in? Yuan Baiwen immediately jumped up from the deck and rushed to the woman at the bow. Yes, I am very willing. The vast sea is too boring. It would be very happy to have you accompany me to have fun. Mr. Yuan, danger. Quote. The lizard man Maven in the cab was about to speak out to stop him. But he found that he couldn't speak. The intense pain almost made him faint instantly. Maven looked down. A sharp blade pierced his chest from behind. This blade was not made of steel, but made of flesh and blood, with an eyeball embedded on it. He. A man's laughter came from behind. It was only one sentence, but it sounded like many people were talking at the same time. Although you are weak, your ability is too troublesome. I can't let you escape. Quote. Behind Meiwen, a long tongue slowly licked Meiwen's cheek. Meiwen tried to look back. Is it you? Behind him was a middle-aged man with a hunched back. This was the brother of the little girl next door who pleaded with Yuan Baiwen on the Wangli Sunshine. But except for his face, this middle-aged man could no longer be called a human being. His hands had turned into bloody blades, and even his feet had many flesh whiskers. Who are you, anyway? Quote. Mevin gasped for air, his body bleeding like a tap. Before the person behind him could answer, Maven endured the pain and took a deep breath. He wanted to forcefully activate his ability, God's Alibi. But at the moment when he held his breath, a bright light flashed across the blade. Mevin felt the world in front of him turned upside down, and saw his body slowly collapse. His head was cut off, and his eyes slowly lost their luster. 100 demons, Lower Moonland, Nu Yi. The hunchback licked the blood on the tip of the knife and said with a smile. Remember, I killed you. Nu, a legendary strange bird, has the appearance of an ape, the body of a raccoon, the limbs of a tiger and the tail of a snake. It has no wings, but it can fly in the air. He. The hunchbacked man laughed sinisterly, swung his limbs like a snake, and his whole body collapsed on the ground, crawling out. On the deck, Yuan Baiwen didn't know about the murder in the cab. He hurriedly ran to the girl with a lewd smile on his face. He opened his arms and wanted to hug the girl. The girl smiled and kicked him down. Master Yuan, why are you so anxious? Are you afraid that I will run away in this vast ocean? That's right, I have plenty of time to play with you. Yuan Baiwen grinned, supported himself with his hands, and tried to stand up. But he found that his chest was in great pain. The woman's light kick actually had a force of hundreds of pounds. My human skin can't hold out for too long, so let me eat this fair boy as soon as possible. He. A sharp male voice came from the cab. The man's body was like a snake, crawling and circling on the ground. The bright red blood ran down his body, staining the deck red. What kind of monster are you? Yuan Baiwen looked at the man in front of him in horror, and then realized that the blood was extending all the way from the control room. He looked through the glass of the control room and found Mei Wen lying on the steering wheel. Mei Wen's eyes were wide open, his hands drooped weakly, and blood dripped. There was no life left. Mei Wen. Yuan Baiwen's eyes suddenly turned red. You killed Mei Wen. Who are you? The hunchbacked man did not answer him, but stared at the girl at the bow. Sir, that hollow seems to be dead. The girl who is the hollow container may not survive either. The monsters that your organization has cultivated with great effort are also very weak. They are only at the first level, just like children's toys. He said sinisterly. The girl just smiled faintly. Foolish people, are you qualified to understand the intention of our organization? This is an important experiment. If NPC-like monsters merge with humans, can they evolve? Such an experiment is a great honor for you to witness. Looking at the two people talking to themselves, they ignored him completely. Yuan Baiwen was completely furious. He picked up the fire extinguisher tied to the side of the boat and rushed towards the monster man viciously. The girl next door smiled softly with her hands covering her mouth. You dare to step forward when you see such a monster, Master Yuan, I underestimated you before. But facing your own powerful enemy, instead of thinking about how to escape, you recklessly ran up. You are indeed very stupid. Seeing the woman behind him laughing at him, Yuan Baiwen's eyes rolled. He turned around immediately. The fire extinguisher was aimed at the girl. There was also a diving suit in his capsule. As long as he forced the girl back and jumped into the sea, he would have a chance to escape. So he picked up the fire extinguisher and pressed it. It didn't work. Don't you know that the safety pin of the fire extinguisher must be pulled first? The girl laughed again. Your IQ is 0. If it weren't for the fact that your Yuan family still had something my master needed, I would even scatter your ashes in this sea. After saying that, a light flashed in the girl's eyes. Yuan Baiwen was about to throw the fire extinguisher out, but found that he couldn't move. Remember this in your next life. The girl blinked her eyes with a sly look. Wild flowers cannot be picked. As soon as the girl finished speaking, she tapped her fingers. Plop! Yuan Baiwen fell stiffly on the deck. Move faster. The girl frowned and looked at the hunchbacked man who looked like mud. It was like looking at a group of disgusting flies. Hee, as you wish. The hunchbacked man's limp body slowly rose, twisting his waist and standing up. His face gradually cracked, giving birth to a bloody new head. The face of the new head was a monkey face. I got blood from the Ghost Master, and the blood ghost art I obtained is exactly the 4 abilities of the demon bird knew. Snake, monkey, tiger, and raccoon. Now, I will use my monkey face to let this young master of the Yuan family taste what it means to be unable to die, hee. He suddenly opened his mouth wide, and his eyes on his monkey face were faintly shining. A group of human-shaped mist floated out of the mouth of Yuan Baiwen, who was unable to move. Floating it reached the hunchback man's mouth. Crunch, crunch. The human-shaped mist struggled frantically in the hunchback man's mouth. But it could not escape and eventually broke into pieces. Gulp. The hunchback man swallowed the mist. Ha, delicious. His body trembled, his eyes slightly closed, and his whole face was full of enjoyment. Sure enough, the human soul is the most delicious thing in the world. Yuan Baiwen on the ground was pale and his eyes were dull at this moment. Like a vegetable. Stop talking nonsense. Have you accepted all of Yuan Baiwen's memories? The girl had a blank expression. Ah. The hunchback man cleared his throat. That's for sure. My ape face has the magical power of soul devouring. All the memories of the devoured souls are absorbed by me. When he opened his mouth, it was Yuan Baiwen's voice. The hunchback man looked at the girl, the woman who played his sister on the Wanli Sunshine. At this moment, his eyes had no affection, only endless greed. You know, there are so many ghosts in the 100 Ghosts group, but only I can move in the sun. Why? Without waiting for the girl to answer, he chuckled. Because I have a third ability, raccoon. The skin on his body suddenly cracked, and a hand stretched out from his chest. This was a hand covered with hair, like a raccoon's paw. Hiss. Under the sunlight, the raccoon's paw was immediately burned and smelled dry. The hunchback man sped up, and a monkey face, raccoon body, tiger feet and snake tail broke free from the human skin. The claws tore open Yuan Baiwen's chest and then quickly drilled in. After a while, Yuan Baiwen's eyeballs moved. The whole person slowly stood up from the ground and moved his limbs. I call this ability to change bodies, raccoon for prince, hee. After resurrection, Yuan Baiwen smiled sinisterly at the girl. Wearing human skin, I can move in the sun even if I am a ghost. But this body is still too weak. The stronger the soul I absorb, the more my ability will evolve. And the stronger the body I get, the stronger my power will be. Lord Shueju, if I can get your soul and body, I will. I will be so happy that I will die. Yuan Baiwen's breathing became rapid, and his eyes became more and more crazy. He looked at the girl sinisterly, his tongue stretched out like a snake, licking his lips. The girl just faced the sea, smiling, playing with the sea water with her little feet. Lowly evil ghost, I advise you to be more careful with your words. If it weren't for my master's order, this is the first cooperation between the Pillar and the 100 Ghosts group, so I should control my temper. Otherwise, just because you called me by my name, it would be enough for me to kill you 100 times. After all, in my eyes, your blood ghost art is no different from a girl's house toy. The girl sat with her back to the hunchbacked man, looking petite and vulnerable. But huge spiritual power gushed out of the girl's body. The spiritual power gathered into a huge phantom of a monster. The phantom had a human figure and a beautiful face, but the hair on its head twisted around like countless tiny snakes. Siren, Medusa, actually, there are really people who can merge monsters into themselves. Nu was breathing rapidly, and his legs couldn't help shaking. What would a soul that merged with a demon beast taste like? Shocked by the shadow behind the girl, Nu did not feel fear, but even more greedy. However, his body, like Yuan Baiwen before, was firmly imprisoned in place. A silver chain wrapped around the girl's fingertips, then flew straight to Nu and hit his forehead. Nu swallowed his saliva. The chain did not pierce down. But the girl's face was cold. The girl's body released a spiritual pressure that almost suffocated him. Nu felt like a pottery that was about to break. As long as the girl wanted, she could easily break it. He had only felt this kind of oppression in the 6 upper ranks of the 100 demons. Hoo, stop, stop. I am being disrespectful. Please forgive me for the cooperation between the 2 leaders and let me continue the mission. The girl stared at him, but the chain was slowly retracted. Be careful what you say. Next time, the chain will pierce your heart. Nu was so frightened that he broke into a cold sweat and dared not be disrespectful again. He began to collect the bodies on the ship. The task assigned to him by the 100 Ghosts was incarnated as Yuan Baiwen, sneaking into the Yuan family. Then wait for further instructions from the girl in front of him. Seeing that the girl had a delicate face and was not very old. He originally thought that this girl was just an insignificant little character in the Pillar organization. Unexpectedly, he was no match for the other party. Throw the body of the lizard man into the sea, and clean up the blood on the ship. Nu sat on the deck tiredly. This body is really terrible. Just a little movement, and I'm out of breath, like an 80-year-old man. Really, the worst container. Complaining twice, he thought of Qin Shi, who stood up for the girl on the Wanli Sunshine. His eyes were shining, and his tongue licked unconsciously. That boy named Qin Shi is really the best. Especially that body, I can feel that it contains endless potential. If I can eat him and occupy his body, He hasn't finished speaking yet. The girl who was stirring the sea water at the bow suddenly stood up. The chain flew again. This time it didn't hang in front of the man, but went straight through the man's chest. Ah! The man screamed in pain, looking at his chest in disbelief. Black smoke rose, and the man's chest was pierced by the chain, leaving only a fist-sized hole. The man screamed in pain. Behind him, a black bug like an ape was pierced by the chain. The monkey bug fluttered a few times, and then it was completely motionless. The man lay on the ground, spitting blood. But he didn't die, and the wound on his chest was still healing quickly. In addition to the abilities of 4 animals, his blood demon art also has 4 animal lives. But now the monkey life has been killed by the girl. He will not be able to use the ability of soul devouring in the future. This is a huge blow to his strength. Maybe he can't even keep his position as a lower string. Water pillar. You. What are you doing? Just because Qin Shi stood up for you, is it worth it for you to go against our fierce ghost group? Quote. The man's face was angry, and his limbs turned into blades made of flesh, flying in the air. But he didn't dare to do it, because he felt the girl's murderous intent as if it were real. As long as he made another move, he was sure that the girl would kill him completely regardless of the so-called mission. The girl turned her back to Nu and looked at the rushing sea. What happened to me just now? She felt very strange. The collaborator behind her said that he wanted to kill a boy, and she actually had such a strong reaction. He couldn't help but think of the boy who stood up for him on the cruise ship. When all the onlookers were afraid of the power of the Yuan family, only he stood up. Although the girl was not worried about the teasing of the young master of the Yuan family, she originally planned to go to the cabin and implement the replacement plan. But the appearance of Qin Shi disrupted her plan. She had to sneak over when the two people of the Yuan family fled to the sea. But she didn't hate Qin Shi at all, but felt warm in her heart. 10 years ago, when I was a little girl, it was the same. I was bullied by a group of hooligans on the street full of passers-by. They took me to the alley and violated me inhumanely. If there was a boy like him who stood up among so many passers-by at that time, I wouldn't have fallen to this point today. The girl breathed rapidly and her teeth chattered. When the memories of anger and hatred occupied her mind again, for some reason, she remembered Qin Shi's face on the cruise ship again. That face was so handsome that I felt extremely safe just by looking at it. The girl's breathing became gentle from rapid. Qin Shi, I want to protect this boy. Having made up her mind, the girl turned around and stared at Nu. The killing intent that had just slowed down became strong again. So I'll spare your life today, remember that. The boy named Qin Shi is my important chess piece. If you dare to hit him again, I'll break your body and soak it in sulfuric acid. The throat of Nu, who looked like Yuan Baiwen, trembled and growled, but in the end, he didn't make a sound. In the face of absolute strength, he could only surrender. Continue to execute the plan and wait for the Yuan family's security personnel to pick you up. You will receive your mission soon. If you fail, I will kill you. After the girl finished speaking, she suddenly jumped into the sea. A whirlpool was formed, and the calm sea surface suddenly surged with waves. It was like a huge sea monster leapt into the water. After a moment, the sea returned to calm. A few days later, on the Wanli Sunshine, the huge anchor fixed the hull, and the big ship slowly approached the shore. Along with the Sunshine, there were several ships from other merchants. Toot toot, a few times, the whistles of several trains came from not far away. Looking up, there were even a few planes slowly landing overhead. This is the Great Wilderness Station, the largest platform in Zhou that combines a ship port, a train station, and an airport. They have arrived in the desert state, Chang'an City, the most prosperous place in Zhou. It is also the city closest to the monsters. Even though it has the function of protecting the barrier, such a close proximity can cause the strange gray fog in the monster domain. It also caused many mineral deposits, vegetation, and animals in the desert state to mutate. So there are treasures everywhere here, but there are also dangers everywhere. In addition to being a political and economic city, this place is also the location of the 3 first-class colleges and dozens of second-class institutions in Zhou. Looking at the crowds rushing past, Qin Shi, Chen Fu, and Zhang Hao stood close together, holding their suitcases tightly. In front of them were tall buildings and crowds of people. Just like Lu Laolao entering the Grand View Garden, the people of Shacheng district saw the prosperous high-rise buildings in the big city for the first time. The 3 of them stared straight, passively walked out of the platform under the surge of people. Remembering the experience of going to Beijing to attend university for the first time before crossing, Qin Shi sighed in his heart. After leaving the station, a number of Totoro buses and alpaca taxis sped past. Look, Lao Qin, it's the welcoming teams of various colleges. Zhang Hao excitedly pointed to the People's Square opposite Wangzhou Station. There stood welcoming teams from many colleges. Qin Shi looked along Zhang Haodong's finger. Wow, the banners are more creative than one another. Some college students held a flying broom in their hands, holding hands to pull up the welcoming banners in the sky. Some universities are plain and simple, with 10 Maibachs opening their doors to welcome new students. Some universities hold various musical instruments, welcoming new students with beautiful notes and beautiful uniforms. But these are not the most eye-catching universities. What made Qin Shi Sanin stunned was a golden airship floating in the sky. 24K pure gold. The words, Tiangong, were engraved on the body of the airship. Lightning flashed around the airship, with the power of Thor faintly. A huge banner hung from the bottom of the airship, reading, "Welcome to Tiangong College." Wow, Xiaofu, your college is great, and you look like a rich man. It's worthy of being the richest college among all colleges. Zhang Hao was shocked. Qin Shi also raised his eyebrows. This is not a simple golden airship, it can't be. Arc Maxim. Arc Maxim is a flying battleship built by Enelu, the King of Lightning, using gold over decades in the world of One Piece. However, in the world of One Piece, Arc Maxim is driven by Enelu's Thunder Fruit. However, the Arc of Tiangong Academy uses formations to collect and store the power of heavenly thunder as the power source of the airship. It can be said to be ingenious. Where is our academy? Zhang Hao couldn't wait to find Jojo Watuo Academy in the crowd. An ambulance engraved with Jojo Watuo Academy drove over from a distance. The door opened, but it was not people who got out, but 8 identical monsters. A pink chubby body, big curly ears, and a kangaroo bag on the belly with a big white egg in it. Happy egg. This time it was Qin Shi's turn to drop his jaw. These monsters turned out to be the god-level nurse Happy Egg in the Pokemon anime. 8 happy eggs lined up in a row, holding up the signs in their hands with their chubby hands. Happy, they shouted. The signs read, "Welcome, welcome, warm welcome." A beautiful nurse sister in a low-cut white coat walked in front of the Happy Egg and threw a wink at the group of students rushing over. The school emblem of Jojo Watuo College was pinned on the nurse sister's proud chest. This is such a loving welcome. Zhang Hao wiped the saliva that flowed down. Is this my future alma mater? Love it. The 3 walked towards the square and headed for the college's welcome team. 10 minutes later. Xiaofu, Lao Qin, you must be happy when we meet again, okay? You must be happy, okay? Wow, Xiaofu, Lao Qin, how can I live without you? With the joint efforts of Qin Shi and Chen Fu, they finally put the crying Chen Hao, who was in tears, was stuffed into the welcoming ambulance of Watuo College. Chen Fu also boarded the golden airship after saying goodbye to Qin Shi. After seeing off his 2 friends, Qin Shi started looking for them in the square. From the moment he walked out of Wangzhou Station, he had already started looking for the welcoming team of the Demon Hunting College. But unfortunately, he didn't find it. Very embarrassing. There is a circle of spectacular fountain buildings in the center of the People's Square. Qin Shi searched for a long time and finally found the contact person of his organization behind the fountain. There stood a young man who looked to be in his 30s, very tall, estimated to be 2 meters. He wore a white V-neck long-sleeved shirt, black trousers and black boots on the lower body, and a green coat all over his body. But the most eye-catching thing was the man's curly hair and the green eye mask on his forehead. This one reminded Qin Shi of an anime character. One of the 3 admirals of One Piece, Kuzan, codenamed Aokiji. Qin Shi walked up quickly. If it weren't for the gray ribbon tied around the man's wrist. On the ribbon was written, Demon Hunter Academy Welcome Director. Qin Shi would have been unable to find his contact. The tall young man was lowering his head, his eyes were fanatical, and his fingers were tapping on his phone. Tap, tap, I've never won. After a shout of victory, the tall young man put down his phone and groaned with satisfaction. He then realized that Qin Shi had been standing beside him for 10 minutes. Oh, are you a newcomer this year? The tall young man opened the album on his phone and drew on Qin Shi's face. Let me see, Qin Shi. Well, it's the same person in the photo, ahem. He put the phone in his coat pocket and adjusted his collar. Nice to meet you. I'm Qingzi, the new lecturer of the Demon Hunter Academy. You can also call me Brother G. Finally, I've waited for you, newbie. Let's get going. The young man named Qingzi took off the silk scarf in his hand. Looking at Qin Shi staring at the green eye mask on his forehead. Why, student, do you have any questions? He asked enthusiastically. Teacher Cheng, you look a bit like the one in the pirate world. Aokiji, right, the young man replied with a smile. He pointed to the green eye mask on his head. This is called acting method. It can speed up the speed of your inheritance. The academy will teach you this in the future. Besides, I do like to sleep, haha. Any more questions, newbie? Looking at his teacher's approachable attitude, Qin Shi also laughed. I would like to ask one more question. He looked around. Am I the only freshman here? Just now he saw that other colleges were picking up freshmen in cars. There is one more, but he won't arrive for another hour. I'll take you to the college first, and then come back to pick him up. This way I can earn 2 welcome credits. Our demon hunting college is different from other universities. Other universities recruit tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of students every year, but we only recruit less than 1,000. Qingji smacked his lips. Besides, many new students are either rich or noble. Many are children of major families and have their own private planes to pick them up. There are very few people like you who come here with free tickets issued by the college. No problem. Then, as he said this, he shook his green coat, and 2 sets of mechanical devices fell off with a clang. Each set of devices looks like the following: a safety suit that covers the shoulders, waist, and legs. 2 rectangular metal launchers connected to the 2 ends of a cylindrical gas tank. 2 suction cups with belts extended from the launcher. This is... Qin Shi's eyes lit up. 3-dimensional mobile device. The device in front of him was exactly the same as the 3-dimensional mobile device he had seen in the anime, Attack on Titan. This is a device that controls the belts on the waist, legs, and feet, and uses a jet device to slide through the woods and buildings. The only difference from the 3-dimensional mobile device in the anime is that this device does not have a saber, and the trigger is naturally not installed on the handle of the saber. Instead, there is an additional pair of control gloves, and the trigger is installed in the palm of the glove. The catapult does not eject a sharp claw hook, but a suction cup. You actually know this kind of device. That's much easier. Qingji said to himself while tying a set of devices to himself. This is my favorite toy. It was the trophy that dropped when I killed a 1-star monster for the first time. I still remember that one. The monster looks like a human, is as tall as a building, and drools. It's a naked giant. Quote. Qingji grumbled as he helped Qin Shi put on his equipment. Later, I modified this device. When you press the trigger on the palm of the glove, a powerful suction cup will pop out. Quote. Then with a whoosh sound, we can move like Spider-Man. Quote. Then classmate Qingji suddenly grinned. Do you understand? Qin Shi nodded in confusion. Since you understand, you have to follow closely. If you lose it, you won't be able to reach the academy. Qingji grinned and suddenly pressed the buckle on his waist. 2 buckles shot out from his waist and shot towards the bell tower not far away. The jet shot out, and Qingji jumped into the air with the help of the pulling force. Classmate Qin, by the way, be careful. Quote, if you break something, it will be deducted from your school allowance, haha. Although the 3-dimensional maneuvering device is the standard equipment of the human army in Attack on Titan, it is not easy to master it. The timing of the catapult rope and keeping the body balanced during high-speed movement require a lot of practice to master these 2 things. However, this is just the basics. In addition to linear movement, the user must also adjust the direction and posture in the air by manipulating the belts on the waist, legs, and feet. It is also necessary to avoid various obstacles on the way forward. This requires the user to have good judgment, balance, and body control. In the world of Attack on Titan, the protagonist Alan also spent a lot of time training maneuvering devices. There was even a case where the protagonist was almost forced to leave the training team because he could not complete the training to adapt to the 3-dimensional maneuvering device. That freshman must have fallen and was stunned, don't blame me. It is also the responsibility of the welcome teacher to show the new students how difficult it is to study at the Demon Hunter Academy. Qingji sighed in his heart, and while galloping between buildings, he turned his head and looked behind him. Qin Shi, who was behind him, was controlling the device and following him closely. Ejecting the rope, sliding, collecting the rope, and ejecting again. The whole set of movements was done in one go. The body also maintained a firm balance in the air, without the panic and confusion of a beginner. Is this a beginner? This is already a leisurely stroll, okay. I have an S-level inheritance, and my realm is higher than his. I didn't use this device as smoothly as he did for the first time. No, I can't even control the newcomers during the welcome ceremony. How can I establish my prestige in the class in the future? Qingji looked around and suddenly his eyes lit up. I got it. In front of him to the right was an area that was completely out of tune with the bright and beautiful high-rise buildings. The houses there were low and staggered, and the stairs were dilapidated. There were densely packed bamboo poles for drying clothes and waste wires between the houses. This is the village in the city of Chang'an City in the deserted city, and it is also the largest village in the city of Zhou, named Tiantongyuan. This place is located in the prime area of Chang'an City, but the rent and prices are very cheap. There are countless supermarkets, breakfast shops, and small restaurants. Hundreds of thousands of people live on a land covering an area of 480,000 square kilometers. Workers, adventurers, local rent collectors, it can be said that there are all kinds of people. Student Chin, follow closely, let's take a shortcut. Qingzi made a big turn, and the catapult was directly sucked onto the wall of the dilapidated house, pulling him towards Tiantongyuan. Qin Shi hurried to catch up. The houses in Tiantongyuan are of different heights, fats and thins, and the layout is messy. Even Qingzi, an old hand at playing with computers, was very alert here. Look, someone in the attic suddenly stretched out a bamboo pole and almost stabbed Qingzi's buttocks. There were also two naughty kids flying kites on the roof. If he hadn't reacted quickly and dodged the silk thread, he would have become the kite. Hoo, this Tiantongyuan is really a place of tigers and wolves. Why is it so quiet in the back? The newcomer must have fallen into an alley or even a stinky ditch. Don't blame me, teacher, for being bad. I have a mission and have to do it. He sighed and looked back again. But he saw Qin Shi following him closely less than 10 meters away. Two magatamas slowly turned in his eyes. His figure was stable and elegant in the air, shuttling between wires, debris, and buildings. Quietly and steadily, even better than himself, who was carrying 2 rotten vegetable leaves, a tattered plastic bag, and bird shit on his head. Qin Shi was clean. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Qingji stared at Qin Shi behind him, roaring helplessly in his heart. How can a newcomer who plays with stereoscopic devices and is AB-level inheritor be better than me, the Machine King? Just when he was distracted, Qin Shi suddenly exclaimed, "Teacher, be careful." Qingji turned his head suddenly and was faced with a basin of cold water. It was salty and smelled fishy. Who the hell is flying around here? Is my foot washing water good to drink? In a 3-story attic, the landlady in pajamas was holding a bathtub and yelling at Qingji who was flying by. Teacher, are you okay? Qin Shi asked carefully behind him. It's okay, just a little disgusting. Qingji wiped the foot washing water off his face calm. Losing his head in front of the newcomer, his self-esteem and everything else have been thrown to the dogs. Also, don't talk to me, I want to be quiet. Okay. Although I don't know what the old why did the teacher suddenly become depressed, but Qin Shi was still tactful and stopped talking. 20 minutes later, the two arrived in front of the academy. Qingji turned around and ran away without saying a word. Qin Shi was left alone at the entrance of the academy. At least tell me where to report. Qin Shi covered his face and walked to the gate, if the scene in front of him could still be called a gate. It was just 9 snow-white stone pillars that soared into the sky, one every 5 meters. So plain and unpretentious. On each stone pillar were engraved the 4 characters, Demon Hunting Academy. But when Qin Shi approached the stone pillars, he discovered their differences. These stone pillars actually emitted a strong evil spirit. If it were an ordinary person with a weak mind, I'm afraid he would be frightened just standing at the door. Qin Shi touched the stone pillars, and the touch was special. These are not stone pillars, they are the skeletons of monsters. Qin Shi was surprised to find that these towering stone pillars were actually the bones of monsters. It is conceivable that the monsters used as materials must be huge. At least a 6th-level monster. Using the skeletons of monsters as the door, my school is really domineering. Qin Shi stepped over the stone pillar with 1 foot, and an inexplicable energy wave came from the stone pillar and swept around him. There was nothing abnormal. However, Qin Shi's forehead was covered with cold sweat. He suddenly remembered that 3 years ago, he bought an issue of Monster Hunting Suit that introduced the guard formation of the Monster Hunting Academy. This is a formation arranged with evil spirits as the guide. If the intruder is not in the information directory of the academy, he will attract evil spirits. Monster Hunting Suit also conducted an experiment. A fourth-level monster approached the academy and was eroded by the evil spirits in a few breaths, leaving only bones. If I hadn't received the college's notification letter, I'm afraid that I would have turned into a pool of blood with that last step just now. Just when he was scared, a crow suddenly flew over his head. The crow circled over his head and suddenly dropped an envelope into his hand. Then the crow flew away. Qin Shi looked at the envelope in his hand in confusion. Wow, the envelope said, Self-Service Admission Guide for New Students. A crow delivers a letter, is this the college's self-service method? Qin Shi smiled and opened the envelope. In addition to a congratulatory letter, there was also a room card with his own head on it. Osiris read 304. Is this my dormitory number? Qin Shi turned over the card, and on the back of the card was a brief map of the college. Not far along the gravel road in front of him, there were 3 dormitory areas. The card used 3 colors to distinguish different dormitory areas. Osiris red, pterosaur yellow, obelisk blue. Aren't these the 3 types of dormitories in the Duel Academy in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX? How come the Monster Hunting Academy also uses this set? No matter how Qin Shi complained in his heart, he already knew his dormitory. Osiris read, only the weakest students will live there, the worst of the 3 dormitories. 304. Qin Shi climbed up to the 3rd floor with his luggage and came to the room on the western side. Osiris Red Dormitory has a total of 5 floors and no elevator. Not only is the name the same as the dormitory name in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, but even the facade and the internal structure are exactly the same as in the animation. It is simply a one-to-one replica of the dormitory in the animation. Swipe the card to enter the door. There are 3 sets of beds and desks inside, and each person also has a locker. There is also a melee version of the wall-mounted air conditioner in the corner, but it has not been used for too long and is covered with dust. This living condition reminded me of my college life before I traveled through time. There was a smell in the room, a faint musty smell from the dust that had accumulated for too long. But Qin Shi was very satisfied. On the one hand, he came from the lower city of a 3rd-tier city, and lived in a dilapidated orphanage since he was a child, sleeping on a bed with other children. Osiris Red's accommodation conditions were already considered a luxurious residence for him. Of course, the other side was more important. Before I traveled through time, I was a student in the imperial capital, living in a 10-person dormitory known as a pig pen, with no tables or cabinets, and most importantly, no air conditioning. Compared to that time, this place is simply heaven. All 3 beds were empty. It seemed that Qin Shi was the first of the 3 roommates to arrive. He picked a bed closest to the window. Just as Qin Shi put his luggage away, the door was suddenly pushed open. 2 men in black rushed in and stood at both ends of the door. An old man then walked into the room quickly and shook the red carpet in his arms, extending it to the balcony. Uncle Hong, I'm here to go to school, not to cause trouble. Keep a low profile. Behind the old man, a fat and wealthy young man walked in muttering. Seeing someone in the dormitory, his back trembled and he walked quickly to Qin Shi. Roommate, Lei Hu, it's our first meeting. Please give me your advice. As he said that, he took out a green watch from his pocket. This is a watch made at home. I hope you like it. We are all roommates. We will be good brothers in the future. How can I accept you? Qin Shi was about to refuse, but suddenly opened his eyes wide. This watch is very expensive and looks familiar. Green crystal inlaid with diamonds, the ultimate mechanical structure, and the hands made of the iron bones of monsters. Could it be the top watch in Kyushu that appeared in Monster Hunting Suit, the Green Water Monster? Just as Qin Shi was trying hard to recall it in his mind, the rich boy standing in front of him saw his roommate frowning. Brother, you don't like the watch. I guarantee you will like it. As he said, the rich boy took out a wallet made of crocodile monster skin and stuffed it into Qin Shi's hand. The wallet was gray with red, and the texture was excellent. The most important thing was that the button of the wallet was engraved with the word, GU. This is a limited edition Gucci wallet made by the master craftsman Gucci, with a market price of more than 1 million Kyushu coins. Just as the rich boy continued to search his pockets, trying to take out more things and stuff them into Qin Shi's hands, Qin Shi swallowed his saliva and quickly held down the rich boy's hand. Good brother, enough, really enough. Qin Shi quietly put away his wallet and watch, then patted the rich boy's shoulder with a serious face. Although I don't know why you are so generous, I have made friends with this brother. This thigh, I will hug him. I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Qin Shi, from Linhai City, Yunzhou. The inheritance is B level, Naruto like Uchiha Obito. Qin Shi smiled and chatted with his roommate. I am from Luoyang, Ningzhou, and the sixth child in my hometown. My name is Pei Buell. Let's do it together in the future. The inheritance is B level, Yu-Gi-Oh type, Muto Yugi. Muto Yugi. On the surface or inside? On the surface. So you are the king of heavy pits, I'm sorry for your disrespect. No, no, no. After the two flattered each other for an hour, the dormitory door was pushed open. A white-faced blonde boy ran in quickly, panting heavily, and ran straight to the bathroom. A vomiting sound was heard. Is this also a roommate? Pei Buell looked at Qin Shi, who was also puzzled. Qin Shi thought about it. Could it be because of a three-dimensional mobile device? To be honest, if it wasn't for the high balance of the body inherited by Obito, he would also experience the feeling of extreme motion sickness. Hello, my name is Li Shani, from Shangzhou. The blonde boy finally came out of the bathroom alive. His face was pale and his legs were still shaking. My inheritance, the inheritance is B level, Demon Slayer plane, my wife Zenitsu. So it's the electric knife boy, I'm sorry. Qin Shi and Pei Buell immediately went up to greet him. Pei Buell also handed over a green water demon watch. No, no, Li Shani hurriedly returned the gift. Before the three people exchanged greetings, the bell rang. Please pay attention, freshmen. In 20 minutes, gather at the college square. The loudspeaker at the entrance of the dormitory suddenly sounded. The three of them quickly packed up and went out together. The square was not far from the dormitory. The three of them found the college square according to the small map on the back of the campus card. The square is located at the northernmost part of the college. Good fellow. Qin Shi stared at the north of the square, where there was a mountain next to the square. But part of the mountain had been hollowed out and made into 7 majestic portrait sculptures. The sculptures were lifelike and as high as 300 meters. Is this a pirated idea of the Hokage rock in Naruto? Qin Shi complained in his heart. This is called the principal rock. Pei Buell looked at his roommate beside him, whose eyes were about to pop out. The Demon Hunter Academy was established 250 years ago. From the Great Counterattack to the present, there are 7 principals in total. Quote, each principal will have his own portrait sculpture to praise their achievements. And it was when they were alive. Brother Pei knows a lot. After being cleared up, Qin Shi understood everything. Immediately raised his thumb. No, no. Pei Buell quickly waved his hand modestly. My family runs a small business, and it happens that there is a little cooperation with the college. So I know a little bit of information. Quote, while the three were talking, the rest of the students also rushed to the square to gather. Dozens of teachers stood on both sides of the podium, and below the podium were students divided into several queues. According to the color of the school uniforms and the gender of the students, there were 5 groups of people in total. The people wearing yellow and red school uniforms stood in 2 squares according to gender. Only the students wearing blue school uniforms, regardless of gender, stood at the front of all the students, and lined up in a row. It felt like a student leader. Before I came here, I heard Uncle Hong say that those who wear red school uniforms like us are all B-level inheritance. Those wearing yellow school uniforms are all A-level inheritance. Pei Buell whispered to Qin Shi and Li Shani. Qin Shi's Sharingan swept over. There were nearly 1,000 students on the playground. The most people were wearing red school uniforms, with more than 600 people. The fewer people were wearing yellow school uniforms, with more than 300 people. As for those wearing blue school uniforms, they were so arrogant and looked like they deserved to be beaten, they were all S-level inheritance. Quote, S-level, Li Shani couldn't help but exclaimed in a low voice. Even Qin Shi couldn't help but look at the S-level students at the front of the team. 1, 2, 3, a total of 9 people. Qin Shi counted quickly. This is already considered a lot. I heard from Uncle Hong that it was good to have 5 or 6 S-level students in a class in previous years. Pei Buell touched his messy stubble. It is said that the growth rate and growth limit of S-level inheritance are far beyond the reach of us B-level students. They are truly the pride of heaven and the high-end combat power of mankind in the future. Qin Shi nodded. Your Uncle Hong knows a lot. That's right. After all, he also graduated from the Monster Hunting Academy, and he is also S-level. Later, he came to my house to be a housekeeper because of my father's great kindness. Pei Bu Yuli looked around the group of female students and said casually. Hiss. Quote, now it was Qin Shi and Li Shani's turn to be surprised. A demon hunter with S-level inheritance, working as a housekeeper in your house. Just when the two wanted to learn more about Lao Pei's extraordinary family background. Among the group of teachers in front of the square, one of them suddenly coughed. Ahem, be quiet, the leader is coming. On the podium, a tall young teacher with a green eye mask on his forehead cleared his throat. His voice was not loud, but it was very clear in everyone's ears. Yes, this teacher was Qingzi, the teacher who took Qin Shi and Li Shani to the academy. At his prompting, all the students in the square immediately fell silent. Just when everyone looked around, but couldn't find the so-called leader. A huge wind sounded suddenly. A helicopter appeared above the square and kept hovering in the sky. Qin Shi looked up at the sky, and the Sharingan would be strong in vision. The door of the helicopter suddenly opened, and a muscular old man with his upper body naked suddenly jumped down. There was no parachute or any other auxiliary measures. The old man's speed was getting faster and faster, like a meteorite landing on the square. According to the straight line of the old man's landing, his landing point was exactly in the center of the square, where the students were standing. With this kind of impact force falling on the square, I am afraid that many people will be killed. In the square, many students have panicked and started to leave. Why does the principal have to do such a flashy thing every time he appears? Obviously he is so old. On the podium, Qingji couldn't help covering his face. Boom! The huge roar frightened the students present. The middle-aged man stood 3 meters above the students' heads. Under his feet, there was a huge crack like a broken mirror. There was a crack in a place that was obviously empty. These cracks are signs of space fragmentation. Quote, Qin Shi looked at the crack above his head, and his pupils shrank. What kind of strength is it to crush the space with 1 foot? The old man looked at the panicked students under his feet and frowned in dissatisfaction. Then he stepped into the air and walked to the podium amid the sound of broken glass. Ahem. He shook the microphone and then threw it away. Gulala la la la. Welcome, little ones who have just grown wings. I am the principal of this academy. My favorite drink is wine, and my most hated drink is civet coffee. I am your nightmare for the next 3 years. You can call me Master Bai. As soon as the old man spoke, the audience immediately became restless. This old man is the principal of our academy. He is the principal Bai who fought against 100,000 monsters alone at the Great Wall Pass 10 years ago and saved countless people in Chang'an City. He is the strongest man in our Jojo country. Bye. Principal Bai Chi. I heard that 10 years ago, he killed the 7th level monster 8-tailed with his own strength. Quote. Qin Shi also narrowed his eyes. Bai Chi, the principal of the Demon Hunter Academy, has been the most popular character in Demon Hunter Suit for many years. He has been rated as the strongest man in Kyushu by Demon Hunter Suit for 10 consecutive years. His heritage as the pirate class, the leader of the famous 4 emperors. Edward Newgate, nicknamed Whitebeard, is known as the strongest man in the world, in the One Piece world. Principal, I love you. My house is full of your posters. As the strongest man, you must be very rich. I want to work hard to make money like you. In order to develop 8-pack abs like the principal, I spend 3 hours in the gym every day and drink countless protein powders. My classmate, is this why you don't wear a shirt? My heritage is Zoro. How can a man draw a sword with a shirt on? Quote. Offstage, shouting and discussing. It was noisy. After seeing the most famous and powerful person in Kyushu, no student could remain calm. Be quiet, listen to me. The old man stomped his feet, and several cracks appeared on the wall of the podium. You little brats who just came in are all top students who have passed the graduation ceremony, eliminated other students, and are standing here. So, I hope to see pride in your eyes. Because just standing here proves that you are strong. Students of my Demon Hunting Academy, if you are not arrogant, don't stay in my academy. As soon as the old man said this, the students in the audience all had a sense of pride in their eyes. Every student who can stand here is the strongest student in their respective cities. Who is not proud? Who is not proud? But, the old man looked around the audience and his voice increased again. Being proud doesn't mean you can be arrogant. Look around you, the classmates wearing school uniforms of different colors. From the moment you awakened your inheritance, the gap has already appeared. Inheritance, talent, family tradition. These are the gaps that are destined for you, like the gap between the natural moat. There are gaps between people, and there are even bigger gaps between people and monsters. Innate vast spiritual power, indestructible outer skin, thousands or even tens of thousands of pounds of strength, huge bodies that can destroy everything. We humans don't have these. So, do we have to accept our fate? Do we have to bow our heads and accept failure when we encounter monsters on the battlefield? With his roar, a special breath overflowed from his body, surged to the square like a wave. The students in the audience suddenly felt like a huge stone was pressing on their chests. The strong sense of suffocation made everyone feel that as long as Principal Bai Chi was willing, their lives would be taken away in an instant. Hoo-hoo. Everyone opened their mouths, but they still couldn't relieve the fear of being controlled by life and death. The students in blue school uniforms were better, but their faces were pale and their limbs were trembling slightly. Many students in yellow and red school uniforms had their eyes rolled back and fainted on the ground with a bang. Among them were Qin Shi's two roommates. Pei Bi Yula and Li Shani both fell to the ground at this moment, especially Pei Bi Yula, who even snored in his sleep. The teacher on the side immediately stepped forward and carried the fainted student away for resuscitation treatment. Qin Shi stood in the crowd, feeling a little stuffy, but his face was normal. This can't be the unique breath of the king of the pirate world, the domineering aura. As the feeling of suffocation became longer and longer, many students, especially those in red school uniforms, were already lying on the ground and couldn't stand up. Several more students couldn't bear it and fainted on the ground. They were carried away by medical staff. Is this the power of a top-level expert? I can't hold on any longer. In front of the principal, I feel so small as a bug. But look at those S-level students, they are like nothing happened. The gap between us and them is so big. Will I never be as good as them in my life? A minute later, the old man's strong sense of oppression disappeared instantly. All the students gasped, and many of them retched on the spot. It was like a drowning man finally found a floating piece of wood. Those fainted students also recovered a little under the teacher's treatment, and returned to the queue one by one. The pressure of the domineering color dissipated, but the students in the square remained silent. The sense of powerlessness and weakness in their hearts did not dissipate. Everyone lowered their heads. I originally thought that we would be the best among humans if we became demon hunters, but now, I am desperate. Now it seems that I am still far away. Dad, I'm sorry, I'm too weak to kill the demon beasts and avenge you. In the square, all kinds of negative thoughts arose in the hearts of the students. Some people looked at the S-level student standing proudly in front side in frustration. Some people thought about the despairing and terrifying monsters that appeared in the book and shook their heads uneasily. This is an era where force is king. But the talent gap between people and the innate difference between people and monsters make countless people feel despair before they struggle. Looking at the silent freshmen in the audience, the principal suddenly smashed the podium with a punch. You little brats, raise your heads. Don't give up your proud hearts at any time. No matter how desperate you are, don't give up the will to fight. Why? Because on the battlefield, if you fail, you will die. If you fail, your loved ones behind you will die. If you fail, countless people in JoJo under your protection will die. I tell you, you have no way out. Only by working hard, only by constantly improving, and risking your life, can these gaps be narrowed. Only with courage, only with faith, only with a heart that never admits defeat, you must go out of adversity and defeat the strong enemy. Quote. You must become stronger, stronger, and stronger than anyone else. In order to survive the cruel battlefield. In order to survive the millions of JoJo people behind you. You must understand that whether you are willing or not, whether you think you can do it or not, you have no choice. The strong live, the weak die. We, the JoJo monster hunters, must become strong. Along with this roar, a strong breath burst out from the old man. Look at those dead heroes, those ancestors who sacrificed their lives to protect you. They have completed their mission, and now it's our turn. As long as you are here, JoJo is here. As long as you are here, our JoJo, our hometown, and our relatives are standing, monsters are forbidden to go. Roar. Inspired by the principal, all the students who were depressed before were excited. Yes, I have no choice but to become stronger. I want to protect my family and my cute sister. Become stronger, I will kill a few monsters at the risk of my life to avenge my father. Become stronger. Become stronger. The shouts surged in the square like waves. Everyone had only one thought in their mind. Become stronger. The passionate atmosphere lasted for a long time. Principal Bai looked at the students in the audience and smiled. He waved his hand to stop everyone's shouting. Time is running out, let's start your journey to become stronger immediately. Now, let's start our first task today. A simple and pleasant visit. As soon as Principal Bai Chi finished speaking, a handsome man walked out from the group of teachers. A green book slowly opened in front of him, and there was a four-leaf clover pattern on the cover of the book. Four-leaf clover, this man's inheritance, can't it be in black clover? Quote. Qin Shi looked at the handsome man who walked out and thought to himself. On the podium, Principal Bai Chi also stretched. Arnold, it depends on you, fly more steadily. The teacher named Arnold smiled bitterly. Principal, with so many people, I'm afraid my spiritual power will be drained. When the time comes, remember to take me back to the academy, Principal. Although he complained, Teacher Arnold did not stop. The wind gradually rose. Arnold floated in the air, muttering to himself. Wind magic, sky wind arc. A strong cyclone floated in the square, and nearly 1,000 students were swept up. Qin Shi quickly activated the Sharingan. Under the effect of the Sharingan's ability to see through spiritual power, Qin Shi found that the huge cyclone under his feet was like a ship. This is a wind arc formed by spiritual power operating the wind. The arc swayed, and it took a while for it to stop completely. Teacher Arnold gritted his teeth and raised his hands high. Let's go, Principal. Principal Bai Chi nodded, jumped suddenly, and jumped to the bow of the wind arc. Then he tilted his head back and fell asleep, snoring. Next was Teacher Qingzi. After boarding the wind boat, he took off his eye mask and fell asleep beside the principal. Why do I feel that our teacher is so unreliable? Many students thought so in their hearts, but they didn't dare to speak. They could only board this pirate ship honestly. Under the power of the wind boat, the group floated higher and higher, passed through the academy, and headed eastwards towards the sun. The wind boat sailed for nearly 2 hours. Passed through Chang'an City, the first city in Kyushu, and passed through countless villages, rushing all the way to the north. The students became quieter and quieter from the bustling at the beginning. Everyone's mood began to become heavy. Because they saw abandoned cities one by one. Broken walls and ruins, weeds regrowing. Only the towering city walls silently told the students the former glory of these cities. These cities have been invaded by monsters. The government has relocated the residents of these cities to other cities, leaving behind hundreds of kilometers of desolate ruins, which we call the buffer zone. Teacher Qingzi had woken up at some point, picked up a loudspeaker and began to explain to the students. Once the border defense line is breached by monsters, these desolate cities will be the last buffer between humans and monsters. The vast ruins will slow down the pace of monster attacks, leaving precious time for the human race to retreat. I hope we will never have that day. The students were silent. The desolate cities are the last time humans have left for themselves. The wind boat accelerated, like a high-speed passenger plane. After a while, a magnificent landscape appeared before everyone's eyes. What is this? A steel wall. How long is this building, stretching to the end of the mountains? This is a miracle in the world. Qin Shi was also shocked by the shouts of countless students. The towering steel wall stretched to the end of the site. This is the Great Wall of Steel. Although it is not 10,000 miles long, it is estimated to be hundreds of miles long, and its height is far higher than the wall in Qin Shi's memory, like a towering hill. Above the steel wall, red light shot up into the sky, completely isolating the inside and outside of the wall. On the solid steel wall, countless claw marks, holes, and red spots that cannot be faded were left. These are traces left by blood. This is the proof that the Great Wall of Steel has blocked countless monster invasions in 300 years. What you see in front of you is the Great Wall Pass, one of the 9 monster-suppressing passes in my JoJo country. Teacher Qingzi walked slowly among the students, with a loudspeaker in his hand constantly speaking. 300 years ago, the gray fog descended, and monsters invaded our Kyushu territory. The first principal was a genius, using a barrier formation called the 4 Red Yang Formation, from the Naruto world to set up multiple barriers to block the monsters' attack. But the territory of JoJo is vast, and the first principal transformed the 4 Red Yang Formation into the 9 Red Yang Formation. And 9 wonders were built in JoJo, as the 9 array eyes of the 9 Red Yang Formation. We call it the Demon Suppressing Pass. So far, under the protection of the 9 demon suppressing passes, tens of millions of monsters have been blocked from the territory of JoJo. And JoJo has also avoided the same fate of national destruction as the East Japan and the Eagle Country. Now in front of you is the largest of the 9 demon suppressing passes, and also the pass with the most monsters, the Great Wall Pass. Quote, everyone looked down at their feet. Below them, the mountains were steep, but there was no trace of green, and it was bleak and murderous. It seemed that all life had disappeared in this place of great contention. And the Great Wall Pass was built on the barren mountains, stretching for thousands of miles. The red light curtain that soared into the sky prevented the students from seeing the scenery outside the Great Wall. The wind arc wandered at the foot of the steel Great Wall. The Great Wall Pass symbolizes. Just as Qingzi continued to explain according to the established lines, and Teacher Arnold was planning to return to the academy according to the established plan. Principal Bai, who had been dozing on the bow of the wind arc, suddenly stretched. He twisted his neck and pointed outside the Great Wall Pass. Hey, Arnold, drive the wind boat over. The magic book floating in front of Arnold almost fell down. Dean, Principal, what did you say? Don't joke. After passing the Great Wall Pass, you will be in the gray fog. Quote, if we encounter a monster, it doesn't matter if we have only a few people, but so many students may not be able to protect it. Besides, how can we get out? We didn't inform the gatekeeper on duty in advance. Qingji on the side also hurriedly advised. Yes, Principal, safety first. Don't be scared, I'm here, what are you afraid of? Principal Bai scratched his ears. Look. Everyone looked where Principal Bai pointed. The red flame barrier that shot straight into the sky suddenly opened a hole. I told the gatekeepers a month ago that they should just go ahead and the gate will open again in 2 hours. I'm the instructor of this military training, and you must obey me. Quote, Teacher Arnold wanted to say something else. He was glared at by the principal and immediately swallowed his words. Seeing that persuasion was ineffective, Qingzi quickly picked up his loudspeaker and abandoned the fixed lines he had written. Ahem, freshmen, next, we are going to go outside the Great Wall and sneak into the gray fog. As soon as he finished speaking, the students were in an uproar. Teacher Qingzi, are you kidding me? There is a demon domain outside. The demon domain is the name humans give to the place covered by gray fog. The gray fog suddenly descended on various parts of the earth 300 years ago, and countless demon beasts came out of it. In the demon domain, any gray fog may become a nest for breeding demon beasts. The terrifying demon beasts from another world are born. No one knows whether these demon beasts are transmitted from another world by the gray fog, or they are copied by the power of gray fog based on demon beasts from another world. I only know one thing. There is a certain randomness in the birth of demon beasts in the gray fog. In other words, you may be lucky and no demon beasts appear along the way. Or you may be unlucky and encounter a 7th level demon beast right at the beginning. What is a 7th level demon beast? The 8-tail and 9-tail in the Naruto world, the Ant King in the Hunter x Hunter world, the Joker King in the Digimon world, the Groudon in the Pokemon world. Of course, the higher the level of the monster, the lower the chance of it being born from the gray fog because of its relatively smaller number in the other world. But the probability is the probability. If you encounter it, it is a matter of losing your life. Many of the freshmen in the Monster Hunting Academy come from powerful families in various places, and many of them are monster hunting families. They have known all kinds of information about monsters since they were young. Even many monster hunters stationed in large families have served in the 9 monster-suppressing passes. Many relatives and friends of the freshmen died in the terrifying monster domain during the 3 years of military service. It can be said that people who truly understand the information of this world that is not known to most people live in fear of the monster domain. That's right, Teacher Qingzi, my father died in the demon domain. Although I want to avenge him, we don't have the strength yet. A student in a yellow school uniform stood up and protested. Yes, the demon domain is full of dangers. There are only 3 people in your teaching team. Even if they are strong, can they protect nearly 1,000 students? This is a girl from a big clan, dressed in noble clothes, who also complained in her seat. Yes, teacher, don't you take our lives too seriously. That's right, that's right. For a while, the crowd was excited. Qingzi frowned. I say, don't you understand the situation? His voice was as cold as ice, completely unlike the good teacher Qin Shi had just met him. The Demon Hunting Academy, to put it nicely, is a university, to put it bluntly, it's a military camp. Our Demon Hunting Academy is a special military base affiliated with the military. Do you know what a military base is? It means that every one of you is a soldier. Soldiers should take executing orders as their first duty. Now, your superiors have ordered everyone to go to the demon domain, but you refuse. Qingji's sharp eyes swept over everyone. Are you going to disobey orders? Besides, I, Qingji, hate cowards the most. You say you are not good enough before you even go to the battlefield. Our academy does not need students like you. You can choose to withdraw, but once you withdraw, you will no longer be a student of my Demon Hunting Academy. I'll give you 30 seconds. If you have any objections, stand up. If you don't have any objections, just sit still. Qingji's voice was like thunder, and all the students present were stunned at once. The atmosphere became extremely quiet. Since no one quits, the activity will continue. Before Qingji finished speaking, a fat hand suddenly raised in the crowd. Qin Shi looked at his roommate beside him with a surprised look. Pei Bi Yula stood up with his hands. If I can drop out of school by quitting the visit, then I choose to quit. He looked at Qin Shi and Li Shanyi beside him with guilt on his face. I'm sorry, brothers, we have to say goodbye just after we met. If you have a chance to come to Ningzhou to play in the future, I will treat you and take you around for 3 days and 3 nights. Qingji glanced at Pei Bi Yula, and then flipped through the roster in his hand. Pei Bi Yula, you are the young master of the Pei family, the largest business family in our Jojo, who is said to be rich enough to rival a country. In the shocked eyes of Qin Shi and Li Shanyi, Pei Bi Yula touched his head embarrassedly. We have some money, but it's too much to say that we are rich enough to rival a country. At most, we are rich enough to rival half a country. Tisk tisk, sorry, Master Pei. Qingji closed the roster and shrugged. Only you can't leave, and you have to participate in this activity even if you don't want to. Quote. Why? Quote. Pei Bi Yu was shocked and shouted. Your father told our school before the start of the school that no matter what reason you have, you can't drop out of school. Your father's original words were, even if this stinky boy dies, he must die in the school. Single quote. Pei Bi Yu covered his mouth in disbelief. Listen, is this what I say as a man? How can the Monster Hunting Academy be threatened by such a man? Man, haha. Qingji chuckled twice. The man you are talking about is the honorary director of the academy, who has invested 2 teaching buildings and 10 billion Jojo coins in the academy. He has such a small request, why should our Monster Hunting Academy refuse it? So, Pei Bi Yu, classmate, sit still. If you dare to move again, I will throw you into the monster domain. Quote. Being threatened by the teacher, Pei Bi Yula could only sit down awkwardly. Since no one has any objections, let's move on. Qingji urged. Let's go, Teacher Arnold. Since we are going, we should go early and come back early. It's okay during the day, but it's really not a place for people to stay at night. Quote. Teacher Arnold sighed and continued to squeeze his magic power to drive the wind arc to fly higher. When the wind boat of the crowd arrived, a gap suddenly appeared in the huge red flame barrier. This is a temporary exit opened by the gatekeeper for everyone. The wind boat slowly passed through the gap in the red flame barrier. Just passing through the gap, everyone felt dry mouth and tongue. The strong burning sensation came not only from the temperature, but also from the soul. It makes people wonder that once the red flame on the Great Wall Pass is touched, it will end up turning into ashes. During the time when the wind boat passed through the gap in the flame, Qingzi and Arnold also walked into the crowd of freshmen respectively. Qingzi walked into the crowd of people wearing red school uniforms and sat next to Qin Shi. Arnold walked into the crowd of people wearing yellow and blue school uniforms. "Hello, classmates," quote. Qingji smiled and greeted Qin Shi and the other two, changing his cold attitude. "Hello, Qing Ji, teacher, Yan." Because Qing Ji had just refused to drop out of school, Pei Yula was in a very low mood, and even his greeting was perfunctory. Qin Shi, on the other hand, looked at Qing Ji in front of him with a puzzled look. "Teacher, I have a question. In the Naruto world, the 4 Red Yang formation requires 4 cage-level ninjas to perform ninjutsu and use their own chakra as fuel to maintain the barrier. The Red Yang formation under the Great Wall in front of us is even larger than the barrier in the Naruto world, and from what you have said, it has been maintained for many years. But why don't I see anyone casting the spell? Where does the energy of this barrier come from?" Qing Ji's eyes lit up. "Good question, classmate, it seems that you are very observant. I read your file and you are a Sharingan inheritor, so why not use your Sharingan to see this wonder of the Great Wall?" Quote. Qin Shi immediately activated his Sharingan after hearing his words. 2 black crescents turned in his eye sockets, and he looked towards the long steel wall. What is this? In Qin Shi's eyes, countless spiritual powers gathered from the demon domain and attached to the steel wall. At this moment, the Great Wall, in his eyes, was like a torch, and the fuel was the spiritual power gathered from the endless demon domain. Where does this spiritual power come from? Could it be demon beasts? Qing Ji nodded. Smart. But it's not just demon beasts, there are also demon hunters like us who kill demons in Zhenyaoguan. He sighed. Whether it's a demon hunter who graduated from the Demon Hunter Academy or a demon hunter who graduated from other academies. No matter who it is, if you want to become a demon hunter, you need to pass a certain assessment and then guard the human race in Zhenyaoguan for 3 years. Quote. The gray fog cannot float into Jojo under the effect of the red flame barrier, but the monsters born in the gray fog will not be so safe. They will attack the city wall, and as time goes by, more and more monsters will be sent in, and more monsters will attack the city wall. And if they are allowed to attack the demon suppression pass, no matter how many red flame barriers and steel walls they have, they will not be enough for them to consume. So, our human race, countless demon hunters in the demon suppression pass, will fight to the death with those monsters in this endless demon domain. The killed monsters and the killed demon hunters will absorb the spiritual power under the effect of the wonder and become the fuel of the demon suppression pass. So, classmate, do you understand? Qing Ji suddenly stared at Qin Shi, and there was no trace of laughter. The real demon suppressing pass is not this steel wall, but people. The countless people who are willing to fight for the human race and pay the price of their lives. Qin Shi was shocked. Countless people who gave their lives as torches. Some of them left their lives, while others just turned into dust and remained nameless. He stood up. Thank you, teacher, for clearing my doubts. He turned his head and looked at the majestic Great Wall again. He suddenly bowed. Thank you, too, for the heroes who died fighting for the human race. There was more glitter in Qing Ji's eyes when he looked at Qin Shi. The wind boat continued to sail. The sky suddenly darkened. The mist that seemed to be there and not there echoed between the whole world. Thunder, roars, and whistling winds. It came faintly from all directions, reaching the ears of all the new students, making people shiver. Qin Shi looked at the bottom of the wind arc. Countless withered, but curved and upward growing dead trees and dense forests. Like swords and iron grass. The flower buds are constantly expanding and contracting, like giant flowers that are breathing. Sand dunes full of bones. Strange shapes, like valleys trampled by extremely huge monsters. Various strange terrains change back and forth in just a few dozen kilometers, with no regularity at all. The vegetation growing in the demon domain has also undergone significant changes. Qin-shi thought secretly as he looked at the changing terrain under his feet. Even the most capable hunters in JoJo would not dare to easily set foot in this mountain forest that completely breaks common sense. It seemed that he guessed Qin-shi's thoughts. Qing-ji on the side came over. You will have a compulsory course in the first semester of your freshman year, 5 credits, called Demon Domain Studies. It talks about the characteristics of various vegetation in the demon domain, as well as survival skills in the wild here. Qin-shi nodded. Indeed, if we enter rashly, we may suffer a loss here even if we emphasize our strength. Help, help, a shout suddenly came from the bottom of the wind boat. This is a team of 4 people, and the materials of their clothes are different. They looked flustered, and even their clothes were torn into many holes, obviously on the way to escape. Principal, this should be a demon hunting team composed of graduates from other colleges. Teacher Arnold reminded. Come over, the principal ordered. Yes, Arnold controlled the wind boat and slowly descended to an open space in the dense forest. Don't walk around, follow the team closely. Teacher Qingzi picked up the loudspeaker to remind all the students. Several ragged demon hunters ran over in panic, and when they saw Qingzi and others, they were like seeing a savior. Help, help. Qingzi hurriedly went up and took out the water bag he carried with him and gave it to the demon hunters. Don't worry, talk slowly. After drinking the cold water, the spirits of several people improved a little. A demon hunter who seemed to be the leader clasped his fists to Qingzi. Thank you, we are the 72nd team of the bronze group. Qingzi nodded. On the way here, he had explained some basic information about the demon suppression pass to all the students on the wind boat. Gold group, silver group, bronze group. Each demon hunter team that came to the demon domain to serve in the military will be grouped and ranked according to their merits. Why are you so flustered? Arnold asked hurriedly. Beast tide, it's a beast tide. The members of the other team were a little flustered, and their voices became trembling. Although they were a temporary team, they were not without vision. Especially there was a detection type inheritor in the team. At a glance, it can be seen that this large team is 99% of the new inheritors with low strength. Run, run, there are so many of you who haven't even reached the first level strength. Once the beast tide comes, many people will die. The detection type inheritor shouted anxiously. After that, he pulled several teammates and ran quickly towards the direction of the steel Great Wall. Principal, let's go too. Teacher Arnold took out the magic book and prepared to summon the wind arc again. Go, what are you going to do? Principal Bai Chi touched his head and suddenly laughed. The monster tide, good, our luck is really good. He turned around and shouted to the thousands of freshmen behind him. You new recruits, hurry up and line up according to the queue you gathered in the square before. Leave a 2-meter gap between people, hurry up. He urged. Principal, you don't want these students to experience the beast tide once, do you? Qingji saw the principal's posture and hurried forward to shout. Principal Bai Chi laughed. Gulala, of course, what a great opportunity this is. Quote, only true sailors can be trained in the waves of the sea. Only when these newcomers have truly experienced the horror of the monsters will they work hard in their future studies. Seeing that Qingji was still trying to persuade him, Principal Bai Chi waved his hand. If you don't want them to be in danger, use your ability to build a barrier. Remember, let those students clearly see the picture of the monsters running. Gulala. Seeing that persuasion was ineffective, Qingji gritted his teeth and sighed. Immediately turned around to direct the students to line up. Quickly line up in a square, don't mess around. As he spoke, he put his hands together. Cold air rushed out of his body. It's the frozen fruit. Quote, Qin-shi looked at teacher Qingji and knew that he was using his ability. The cold air drifted around the crowd, and then there were bursts of rumbling sounds. A 3-meter thick ice wall rose from the ground, surrounding everyone in a square shape. Many monsters have the ability to fly, so there is also a thick ice wall above everyone's head. The ice wall is clean, and the student's vision is not too much obstructed. Qin-shi looked through the crowd and looked at the jungle in the distance. The smoke and dust were everywhere, and the rumbling sound became clearer and clearer. It was like an earthquake. This was the sound of countless monsters stepping on the ground. The ice barrier was built, and the students hid behind the ice wall. Many people were flushed and couldn't help breathing heavily. Most of them were about to come into contact with monsters for the first time. In the past, their knowledge of monsters only came from textbooks and the oral narration of their family elders. But the brutality and power of monsters have been deeply imprinted in their hearts. Roar, quote, like thunder, the roars of countless monsters came one after another. The monsters are coming, everyone be careful, Qingji warned loudly. He stood at the edge of the ice wall, with his hands pressed against the wall, ready to repair the broken ice at any time. Boom boom boom. Ah, roar, countless monsters rushed over at high speed, and even if there was a thick ice wall in front of them, they couldn't stop. They crashed into the ice wall one after another. For a moment, blood splattered and broken limbs flew. Countless blood and monsters' flesh and blood splashed everywhere on the outer wall of the ice wall. Ah, the group of students near the iron wall retreated like crazy, and many people even squatted on the ground and vomited. Many female students were frightened to tears on the spot, even if the ice wall was unusually strong. But many people were still occupied by fear when facing such a bloody and terrifying scene for the first time. Gulala, seeing some of the freshmen crying and some running away, Principal Bai Chi laughed. The life of a demon hunter is destined to be accompanied by blood and flesh. If you can't overcome it, only death will greet you. He licked his lips, revealing a hint of ruthlessness. Now, let me add some spice to you. He stood up suddenly with his upper body naked, his hands pressed tightly against the ice wall, and then roared. Ha! The vibration sounded, and the 3-meter thick ice wall immediately cracked dozens of large holes. Principal, you. Qingji was confused. Hurry up and add ice and repair the wall. Do you want to watch these students die? Principal Bai Chi clapped his hands and said nonchalantly. Qingji suddenly had a headache and gritted his teeth to use his ability again. The holes in the ice wall were immediately repaired. But in just a few seconds, nearly 30 demon beasts rushed into the group of students. Ah, Mom, a monster is chasing me. Help, someone come and save me. Don't eat me, my meat is not tasty, and I have hemorrhoids on my butt. As long as I run faster than others, the monster can't eat me. For a while, shouts rang out everywhere, and the chaotic running and trampling made the entire formation a mess. These are just first-level monsters, not even one-star monsters. Teachers are not allowed to take action. Just when several teachers wanted to fight against the monsters, Principal Bai Chi shouted coldly. They are all inheritors above level B. Even if one person can't beat them, as long as a few people cooperate a little bit, they can defeat these monsters. How could nearly 1,000 students not be able to kill these dozens of low-level monsters? If that happens, it would be a disgrace to my monster hunting academy. Then I'll go home and don't go to school. Teachers are looking at each other. These are all freshmen. Isn't it normal to be afraid of monsters? But no one dared to speak, because the principal's expression had become worse and worse with the chaos of the freshmen. However, the slight cooperation that the principal mentioned did not happen. Instead, they rushed to escape, wailing. The scene became extremely chaotic, and many students were not hit by monsters at all. Instead, they were trampled by their classmates and had blood on their faces. A student in a yellow school uniform was trampled to the ground by others. Then he was thrown away by the chasing Geodude from the Pokemon world. The principal's face finally couldn't hold it. Spit burst out directly. Waste, a bunch of waste. You teachers, save people quickly, remember. Only save people, not help them deal with monsters. I want to see how ugly they can be. Qingzi, Arnold and other teachers heard the order and took action. Rescued the injured students from the clutches of monsters. As time passed, the situation began to change. After all, they were the top inheritors in each city. After the initial chaos, a few students began to fight back. The first counterattack team was 9 students in blue school uniforms. He, whether it's killing monsters or people, I like it. A man with blonde hair, a grin, and sunglasses waved his hands excitedly. String, fruit strike string. Several thin lines shot out from his fingertips. Like a high-speed machine gun, it shot several small holes in the marshmallow from the Yu-Gi-Oh world in front of him. Clo cards created by Clo read, obey your master's orders and burn her enemies, fire. A girl with short brown hair and dark green pupils was waving the star wand in her hand. The flame spirit flew out from the claw cards on her fingertips and burned the dog-headed man from World of Warcraft not far away into only bones. These S-level inheritors showed their strong strength in the face of crisis. The students in yellow and red uniforms were in much more chaos. In the face of the monster's charge, more students ran away. Some even thought that as long as I run faster than you, I will be safe. They left the other injured students behind. Wu, why are you chasing me? Li Shani was so scared that he sat on the ground. There was a monster right in front of him. It was a little ghost-like monster covered in green. It had a ferocious look and was jumping up and down waving a wooden mace in its hand. This was the Goblinman in the Digimon world. A fireball was thrown out of its hand, and Li Shani rolled and crawled to avoid it. It's so scary, Grandpa. Grandpa, help me. Just as Li Shani's hands and feet when he was crawling to the side, the shadow in front of him blocked his way. He. A bat-shaped monster appeared in front of him, looking at Li Shani with a sinister smile. It was like a cat looking at a mouse. Impmon, a Digimon in the growth stage, likes darkness. Small darts shot out from the tip of its wings. This is its ultimate move, the blood-sucking dart. Once it hits, the target will continue to lose blood. Li Shani was so scared that he closed his eyes and struggled to run to the right. I don't know if it was luck or strength, but all the darts were dodged by him. However, before he ran a few steps, he retreated with a look of despair. There was also a monster in front of the right. This monster had a purple spotted mushroom on its head and a pair of red shoes on its feet. It was juggling 3 small mushrooms in its hands. Mushroomin, a Digimon in the growth stage, is a small plant Digimon that looks like a poisonous mushroom. Its body can grow small mushroom bombs that cause various symptoms and are highly toxic. Being attacked by this mushroom bomb will cause various symptoms such as constant laughing, body paralysis, and loss of memory. Surrounded by 3 monsters, Li Shani was disheartened. I am too miserable. Someone come to save me. Just as the 3 monsters were about to attack Li Shani, several kunai flew out from behind Li Shani, interrupting the attack of the 3 monsters. Light and shadows were flickering. Qin Shi walked over quickly, came to the back of Li Shani, and helped him up. Woo, Lao Qin. Li Shani was moved. Huang Mao, go and help other students deal with the monsters with Lao Lu. Leave these 3 monsters to me. Qin Shi patted him and comforted him. Lao Lu refers to Pei Biyula, after all, he is the 6th among the young masters of the Pei family. Although they have only been roommates for less than half a day, the relationship between the 3 of them has quickly heated up under Pei Buell's passionate luxury offensive. You are the eldest brother, I am the second brother, and we are just short of sworn brotherhood. Good brothers all call each other by nicknames. The 3 of them have discussed it. For example, Qin Shi and Pei Buell, I call you Lao Qin and you call me Lao Lu. As for Li Shani, just by the golden hair that is exactly the same as Agatsuma Zenitsu in Demon Slayer. What else can we call him if not Wang Mao? Pei Buell, who was standing aside, quickly pulled Li Shani over and said as they walked. Look, what did I say? Why did we take the initiative to say that we wanted to recognize Lao Qin as our eldest brother? Teacher Qingzi, who has such high vision, took the initiative to approach Lao Qin. What is this called? This is called licking. Lao Qin has the potential to be an emperor. Qin Shi was left alone to deal with the 3 Digimon in front of him. Seeing the prey escape, the 3 Digimon became violent. They flew towards Qin Shi at the same time. However, Qin Shi just glanced at them and suddenly pulled his hands apart. In his eyes, the black Magatama turned, and the 2 Magatama Sharingan had been opened. The 3 Digimon actually stopped in place, with their hands' wings closed, as if they were bound. Only by looking carefully can you find that there are almost transparent silk threads between several kunai. These silk threads entangled the 3 Digimon and tied them up. Checkmate. Qin Shi snorted coldly, his cheeks puffed up. Fire style. Great fireball. The scorching fireball flew towards the Digimon along the silk threads entangled by the 9 kunai. Roar, roar, roar. The flames burned their bodies. Goblinman, Impmon, and Mushroomin roared and turned into dust. Qin Shi breathed a sigh of relief. Ding. The system's prompt sound suddenly sounded. Host kills 3 first-level monsters, gains 300 experience points, 3 skill points, and spiritual power limit plus 3 cards. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.